Just a Rinnegan? That's not enough. I want the Tenseigan too. Welcome back, brave explorers of impossible worlds. We are excited to have you here to continue this odyssey together. Before we continue, everything you'll hear is pure fiction, so please don't try to replicate combat techniques at home. This wonderful story in all its rights belong to its brilliant original author. We are only the messengers of entertainment. Want another dose of adventure? Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single chapter, and if you can't wait, our Patreon has exclusive surprises you'll love. Chapter 276. Later, after Yuanjie awakened the SSS-level physique, this small family became rich, and Li Tiansha often brought good things to their house. Grandma Li's kindness was best rewarded. However, Grandma Li still did not let life see him, because she felt that her sister's skills were her sister's, and after all, her sister wanted to marry, and it was impossible to support too many younger brothers. She didn't dare to bet that her granddaughter looked so petite and cute. In case Yuanjie was an ordinary person in the future, her granddaughter would have to suffer if she married him in the future. Yuanjie didn't go because he felt embarrassed to see Liv. He always pestered him at school, and he was a little annoyed by the straight man. Unexpectedly, fate played a big joke on Grandma Li. Yuanjie actually awakened an SSS-level physique and, like his sister, became a dragon and phoenix among people. Grandma Li was shocked. She regretted it. She knew it earlier. Be silent when you shouldn't be silent. Be weak when you should be brave. If it's not me. Grandma Li had no choice, so she had to make amends, showing her face in front of Yuanjie from time to time, or bringing Liv over to visit the door. But Yuanjie's goods often returned late, and he didn't know where to fool around, and he pounced every time. After a while, Grandma Li found that Yuanjie didn't have that kind of thought about his granddaughter at all. She watched Xiaofu eat and tea all day long, and loved to lie on the windowsill and watch the playground. She regretted dying and really wanted to slap herself twice. I already knew that when the other party was a teenager, I should encourage my granddaughter to pursue him, so that it would not cause the bitter fruit of unrequited love in my granddaughter today. This is destined to be a fruitless unrequited love. Yuanjie left. He went to Jingcheng, went to the most powerful academy in Daxia he should have been. And Liv? Because he didn't have a high-level physique, he couldn't even pass the university exam, so he could only follow himself to sell medicine. The two people are people from different worlds and have since parted ways. Later, Grandma Li heard that Yuanjie had actually become the emperor, and her intestines were green I don't know how many times. A good marriage, because of his own conservatism, did not dare to gamble, and missed it from then on. Before she knew the news, she fell and her body was much weaker than before. After receiving this blow, he was even more depressed. It didn't take long for him to die. Before dying, she trembled her lips and raised her hand to rub her granddaughter Liv's face. Xiaofu, I hope you don't hate me. Liv shook her head desperately. She held her grandmother's hand tightly and sobbed, Grandma, how can I hate you? You are so good to me. Grandma Li laughed dryly and sighed, in my life, I regret doing two things. The first thing is to agree to let your father find a wife who is poorer than our family, and then give birth to you, so that you have been inferior since childhood, poor, and never had a good day. Liv kissed her grandmother's wrinkled hand and said, even if I don't have money, I'm very happy, I'm already content. Grandma Li continued, the second thing, what I regret the most is that I used to block you from being good with Yuanjie, let you, cough. Before she finished speaking, Grandma Li spat out a mouthful of turbid blood, and her eyes were sluggish. Her hand hung down. But life still clings to her, as if holding tightly. Grandma will not leave her. Grandma. There are many things that do not go towards your own ideas, so life will be exploratory and interesting. Just like Grandma Li, do you think she did something wrong? In fact, there is nothing wrong, because after suffering a loss, she will appear cautious. Unfortunately, the gears of fate did not go the way she imagined, and fate played a joke on her and on Liv. Perhaps, when Yuanjie did not cross over, the predecessor was likely to be with Liv. It's just that it's possible, it's not necessarily. However, Yuanjie from another world came over, he was unfamiliar with Liv, and he even forgot about her. Even if he remembered, according to his personality, it was impossible to accept her. Wang Qing and Yu Menghan, who have a high-level physique and good appearance, are not moved. But for Liv, passing by may be a lifetime. Yuanjie stood behind Yi Suking and silently looked at the little woman who was crying to death. He sympathized with her, and had been poor since childhood, much like his previous life. The difference is that she also has a grandmother to lean on, slightly better than him. Yuanjie turned around, secretly picked up his mobile phone, edited a text message and sent it to Yu Menghan, asking her to support her. He is now capable, help as much as he can, at the very least, make her life better. Yuanjie sends Liv home, and he is in the ruined house for the first time. The furniture is decades old, not nostalgia, there is really no money to change. Back then, Grandma Li provided her with education, sold medicine alone, suffered from white eyes, and pulled a little girl up with bitterness, and it had already cost her whole body strength. It's a bit messy at home, don't mind her. Liv blushed as she scrambled to clean up. Yuanjie smiled indifferently and said, it's okay. Liv went into the kitchen and made him a cup of hot tea. The tea leaves are very cheap, a few copper spirit coins 1 or 2, it is Yuanjie who crossed over and drank the most astringent tea. However, there was not much expression on his face, and Liv breathed a sigh of relief. She thought that Yuanjie, the son of heaven, would dislike it. She was annoyed, she already knew that she would rather eat a dozen meals less than buy some better tea. She never thought that Yuanjie would actually come to her house one day. Late at night, Yuanjie subconsciously wanted to turn on the light, but he didn't expect to press the switch a few times, but it didn't turn on. The light bulb is broken, and I haven't had time to replace it, Liv said awkwardly. Yuanjie looked at the light bulb with white eyes. It's not broken, you don't have money to pay the electricity bill, right? Sometimes, don't be too cruel to yourself, don't save where you shouldn't. When Liv heard it, she nodded seriously. Since the last time Yuanjie went to her family's small pharmacy, business has gradually improved, and many customers who are dressed as dignitaries come from home to buy medicine. She even received a high-priced order from the army, but she couldn't work alone and was reluctant to hire a maid, so she declined. Now she, in just half a year, has made more money than the medicine that her grandmother has sold for a lifetime. Her savings, plus her grandmother's inheritance, had reached as much as 168 gold spirit coins. And she had never seen a huge amount of more than 10 gold spirit coins in her life, and she was very satisfied. What she didn't know was that this little money was just enough for Yuanjie to draw divine skill recruitment. But she is used to poverty, developed the habit of thrift. She is reluctant to spend money. Her favorite is to look at the gold spirit coins in the small box every day, day by day. Usually, she is reluctant to eat ribs. Perhaps because from childhood to adulthood, eating is not good, can only eat a meal of meat a year, so it grows particularly short. Li Tiansha and Yi Suking should have been like this, the difference is that the two of them are top physiques and have different lives. You wait a minute, I'll go out and buy some food. Yuanjie nodded with a smile and answered, okay, I'll wait for you. Liv is very happy. Being able to cook for the man she loves is the happiest thing in her life. Because she was so excited, when she went down the stairs, she accidentally fell and scratched some of her skin, but she didn't care. Soon, she bought a lot of meat and vegetables back. She grew so big, the meat she ate was not more than half of today. Soon, she fastened her apron and got busy in the kitchen. Yuanjie wanted to go in and help, but she pushed him out. You are the son of heaven, a person who wants to do big things. This kind of small thing, leave it to me. Yuanjie cried and laughed after hearing this. What happened to the son of heaven? Doesn't the son of heaven have to eat? He is just a superpower, and he is not like an immortal. In his opinion, 3 meals a day is the big thing. After Liv's firm objection, Yuanjie shook his head and he sat back. When stir-frying, hot oil accidentally splashed on the wound. Liv frowned and snorted. She cautiously looked back and found that Yuanjie did not notice. She was relieved. In fact, Yuanjie had already found out that he had put down a few bottles of recovery potions on the table. A large table of delicious food with all colors and aromas is placed on the table, and it takes a lot of thought to look at it. Before eating, I ask you to treat the wound in your hand first. Huh? Liv blushed shyly, but he didn't expect to be discovered. She obediently picked up the recovery potion and carefully applied it to the wound, not wanting to waste a drop, because it was given to her by him. Well, thank you, Brother J. Liv pushed the 10 bottles of recovery potion back. Yuanjie waved his hand and said indifferently, it's okay, I gave it to you, maybe you can use it in the future. Good. Liv put the recovery potion back in the room bottle by bottle, and treasured it well. Maybe he didn't have the opportunity to use it in the future, but this was given by him, and it was worth her to cherish for a lifetime. Yuanjie clamped a piece of ribs, and a faint aroma of herbs poured into his mouth, and he was stunned. "This smell is really chick." Liv lowered her head and asked, "Isn't it delicious?" "No, no, it's delicious. It's the most special rib I've ever eaten." Liv's eyes lit up. "He likes to eat. He loves to eat the dishes I cook." She felt that her heart was filled with happiness, and she wished that time could go slower, and then slow down. Yuanjie simply finished a bowl of rice, and Liv snatched it over and helped him serve the rice. At this time, Yuanjie received a call. He frowned, so he got up and shouted to the woman in the kitchen, "Liv, I have something. I will go first. The meal does not need to be served. Thank you for your hospitality tonight." "Huh? You haven't eaten much yet, are you leaving?" Her answer resounded through the empty house. She was silent, holding the bowl, and looked at the table for a long, long time. Snap! At this time, electricity came, and the dark house was filled with light. Liv sat back. She looked at the many dishes left on the table, and Yuanjie didn't eat a few bites. She stuffed the dish into her mouth bite by bite, which was bought with a lot of money and could not be wasted. In Yuanjie's original position, there was a bowl filled with white rice. Unfortunately, the dish is cold. People are gone. Chapter 277. The call Yuanjie received just now was from Marshal Li. Emperor Yuan. A large number of SSS-level powerhouses suddenly appeared in the Flying Eagle country, and several of our phaseless realm generals were killed. As we all know, in this world, physique and bloodline are the key factors that determine combat power, and cultivation is only an auxiliary. Otherwise, it would not have been possible for Yuanjie to destroy the Phase 5 Order peak of the Great Late Realm when he was in the 5th Order. And the generals of Yuan, although they are phaseless cultivators and are far ahead of the opposite side, their physiques are not very good. Most of them are S-class, and there are very few SS ranks. On the side of the Flying Eagle country, there are many people whose strength has reached the top level of the Great Evening Realm, and once they evolve to the SSS level physique, this is quite unfavorable for Tian Yuan. Yuanjie couldn't help but think of the Zhou family, when they had successfully created 2 SSS level physiques through the mixed injection of SS plus S's transformation potion. Presumably, the Flying Eagle country should have also found out, so a large number of SSS level powerhouses suddenly appeared. In the face of this situation, the only solution is to let the true SSS level physique deal with them, and let them know that there is also a gap in God. Thinking of this, Yuanjie quickly crossed the time and space passage to the border of the Flying Eagle country. When it first came, it was devastated, and you can imagine what kind of big war it had experienced before. Soldiers are cleaning the battlefield and collecting the bodies of the dead in batches. Everyone noticed that Yuanjie was coming, and they all saluted with red eyes. 2 days ago, the third day after the wedding failed, Tian Yuan sent 50 million additional soldiers and 20 phaseless powerhouses to fight the Flying Eagle country. A total of 80 million soldiers and 30 phaseless realms, which could have been won steadily with their eyes closed, but an accident occurred. Just this afternoon, 15 SSS-level late realm 9th order powerhouses suddenly appeared in the Flying Eagle country, as well as several death-sending teams. With a team of only 1,000 people, plus 20 million well-equipped modern soldiers, it was difficult to distinguish the top combat power of the Heavenly Yuan dynasty for a while. In the end, 20 million of the Yuan soldiers were killed, 10 of the 30 phaseless realm powerhouses were sacrificed, and the Flying Eagle country, probably because of artificial pseudo-gods, ran 2 of the 15 SSS-level physiques, and all the others remained on the battlefield forever. But I have to say that this kind of victory is still very remarkable. Because you don't know how many people will appear in the future, and weaken the top combat power of Yuan with life for life. Marshal Li ran over and knelt down the first time he saw it. Emperor Yuan, it's the old minister who commands incompetently. Please Emperor Yuan surrender. Yuanjie helped him up. He knew that in the face of strength, all tactics were bubbles. Just like him, no matter what kind of anti-heavenly formation is put on the opposite side, one heavenly barrier shock star is enough to kill everything in seconds. Get up, I don't blame you for this. Next time, if they send a bunch of artificial pseudo-gods to attack, then you will notify me immediately. Marshal Li was ashamed. Originally, it was his duty to conquer foreign countries, and he should not trouble His Majesty to come and wipe their asses for everything. If it was the former dynasty Xiang Mao Fen, it is estimated that he would be scolded before he finished speaking. It is really a son of heaven and a courtier, and what kind of emperor there is, the spiritual outlook of the ministers below will change accordingly. The previous dynasty was rotten, salted fish. One by one the public servants read the newspaper and drink tea when they went to work. Anyway, as long as it is not a big thing, there is no need to report to the emperor. You say more will be questionability. If it doesn't matter, it's like that for the rest of your life, and you don't move your ass. But now it's different. Tianyuan's public servants, motivated by a fair and just promotion system, work very hard, for fear that the control Yuan will not notice them. This hierarchical promotion system not only had a great influence among civilian officials, but also inspired groups of soldiers among military attachés. One by one, they went to the battlefield, as if they had beaten chicken blood, and they rushed forward without death. It's all battle merits, who doesn't rush to ask for it? Doing this made Marshal Li have a very sense of crisis, for fear that next year he would lose his hat. So his deployment strategy was just as radical, but this time it paid a terrible price. If at that time, when he found that the other party's strength was wrong, he reported to the Yuan emperor as soon as possible, then he could sacrifice a lot less soldiers. But he thought that he could do it. If he could not trouble the Yuan emperor, he would not be troublesome, and he would look very incompetent to find the emperor to wipe his ass every day. It's just that he underestimated the strength of the other party. At all times, as a leader, the best consideration should be everyone, not individuals, Yuanjie said silently and turned to leave. After the Flying Eagle country tried the sweetness, it planned to continue to arrange the artificial SSS-level pass charge the next day. Dr. Stun, thank you really for helping Flying Eagle a lot. The Lord of the Flying Eagle country held an old man's hand with a smile on his face. Dr. Stun's expression did not have many waves, and he said lightly, thank you. Remember to conclude the final payment. The Lord of the Flying Eagle country immediately arranged for his subordinates to transfer money, and the other party's mobile phone received the arrival information of 10 billion gold spirit coins. Dr. Stun looked around, checked the account balance, picked up the box and left. His latest scientific research achievement is to develop a person who can directly awaken or evolve an SSS-level physique, and even give specified abilities. And the awakening success rate is 100%. Even if you shoot a pig, it will become a pig with SSS-level physique. As for side effects, do they still matter today? The production of God-making potions must use extraterrestrial meteorites from other galaxies, and the conditions are very harsh. Therefore, the Flying Eagle country is currently working with national strength, only producing 500 bottles. Each bottle costs 1 billion gold spirit coins. Now the problem is that there are not many alpha top powerhouses, only 50. And the Flying Eagle country can only retreat and inject other levels of alpha powerhouses. In just 1 week, 300 sons of God were created. A strong person with an SSS-level physique, even if it is only in the Great Evening Realm, can kill the Phaseless Realm with his talent. This is a full 500 SSS-level physique powerhouses, and this planet has not awakened so many top physiques in its 200,000 years of history. It is said that science and technology change the future. If it is not for the birth of the Sharingan dynasty, maybe in the future, the Flying Eagle country will really become the world hegemon. And now, Tianyuan has become their worst enemy. Prior to this, the Flying Eagle country had been beaten to the ground by the Tianyuan dynasty, and there was no way to fight back. The Tianyuan army was about to be beaten to the national capital at one point. Fortunately, God took care of them, allowing their own scientists to develop such a heaven-defying potion. The Lord of the Flying Eagle country was now very inflated, the corners of his mouth were crooked, and he said with disdain, Sharingan dynasty? Wait to die. How about you have 4 SSS-level physiques? I have 500. How do you win? Chapter 278. On the afternoon of the next day, the Flying Eagle country arranged for 50 alpha mutants with SSS-level physique to attack the area occupied by the Tianyuan soldiers. Auxiliary powerful thermal weapons, bombarding the Tianyuan barracks. Adjutant, quick. Contact Emperor Yuan to request support. After hearing Marshal Li's voice, the adjutant immediately dialed the phone. Yuanjie was enjoying Yi Suking's massage in the Imperial study room at this time with his eyes closed. Seeing that you have been quite busy recently, I feel distressed. No way. Who called me the king of a country? With great power comes great responsibility. Yi Suking hesitated for a while, and said bitterly, I don't know how my sister is now. It's been almost half a month, and there is still no news. After Yuanjie heard this, his face was worried. Although he knew that the place was left by Li Tiansha's parents, But how could the inheritance be so easy to get? After such a long time, there has been no news, which is really worrying. At this time, his mobile phone rang, and Yuanjie picked it up and pressed the answer button. Hey, there was a booming explosion on the other end of the phone, but the other party could not be heard clearly. Yuanjie's heart sank, and it seemed that the other party was here again. He stood up, pulled out a yellow robe from the closet and put it on, and said to Yusuking, I have something to go to the Flying Eagle country. You are guarding at home. I am worried that they will be divided into two ways. Yusuking nodded obediently. He didn't bring anyone else except for a Purple Frost. Since Xiaonan's last battle with Yusuking, she has been locked up by Yuanjie and prevented her from coming out to make trouble. Susu is taking care of her, and Susu will not intervene. She never intervenes in worldly disputes. Yuanjie stepped into the time and space channel, but he didn't expect that when he just came out, he saw a missile flying straight towards him. He teleported over, grabbed it and threw it back, colliding with other missiles and exploding. Emperor Yuan, are you here? Marshal Li was pleasantly surprised. Yuanjie nodded lightly, and he moved his gaze to the battlefield in the air. Unexpectedly, about 50 people made SSS level came at one time on the opposite side, which was even more violent than yesterday. Li Qing is one person against 10, he is different from others, he cultivates physical arts, so the spiritual power pool is very shallow, and the cultivation speed is naturally much faster than others. Now his cultivation realm is the 5th order of the phaseless realm, but what realm his physical skills have reached, it is estimated that only the dead will know. Divine Dragon Swing Tail, Li Qing flashed and kicked over, accompanied by the dragon chant, a series of 3 strikes flew. When the moon dance god was controlled, he performed the Sakura robbery. These 3 powerhouses of the Flying Eagle country, if not physically strong, can basically go to God. The 3 slowed down and shot 2 red lasers from their eyes at the same time. 6 lasers attacked towards Li Qing and the moon dance god, and when the 2 were stunned, they were about to be hit. Unexpectedly, the moon dance god blinked and came to the ground, and it was Yuanjie who exchanged places with her with the power of heavenly hands. Shinra Tenseigan, the laser was reflected elsewhere by Shinra Tenseigan, and a large area was dissolved by the burning. Emperor Yuan, teacher, I'm coming, you go down and rest. As soon as Yuanjie's words fell, the next second he appeared in front of the 3 SSS-level powerhouses of the Flying Eagle country. The Dao Jade behind him turned into a black rod and plunged straight into their bodies. When I first entered, it seemed that I had encountered an obstacle. Yuanjie frowned. Is it so hard? He didn't expect that the other party's physical body was even stronger than he thought. The 3 strong men who wore their pants and red capes behind them were stunned when they saw the black rod bleeding from their waist. Isn't it a skin that claims to be indestructible? How can it still hurt? They pulled out the black rod, but there was still a hole in their waist, and black blood overflowed inside. Fuck, what the hell are you doing, yin and yang? Yin Yang Dun not only has the ability to create everything out of nothing, and give life to the body. Naruto used Yin Yang to save Yosuke's life at that time. At the same time, Yin Yang Dun also has the ability to destroy, not to touch it will die, but to be injured by Yin Yang Dun's body, if the strength is not good, basically unable to heal. P.S. This book does not have the setting of the power of the 6 paths, only divided into realms. You should not substitute it. Seeking Dao Jade is a technique based on Yin and Yang escape. Yuanjie calmed his face, but he didn't expect that the other party actually awakened a superhuman constitution. It is the superhero who has reached a super level of defense, strength and speed. Yuanjie immediately judged that the other party should still be a golden Zhao, and he had the hot vision of the new 52. Perhaps the realm is only alpha level, so the strength is weaker. Do you think you can shoot lasers? Yuanjie chuckled, and then closed his right eye. Azu. When they opened, Yuanjie's right eye was green, and a dark green light covered their whole body. Damn, what the hell did you do to us? One of the supermen felt a loss of physical strength and couldn't help but shout in panic. Originally, they had the strength of the 5th order of Alpha, Great Knight, but now they directly dropped a big realm. Yuanjie turned to Li Qing and said, Teacher, it's just a fusion realm, you should be able to fight, right? I'll look somewhere else, and I'll leave it to you. Li Qing was stunned. During the palace battle before, he also saw this dark green laser, but he didn't know what kind of ability it was. Because Xiang Maofang's strength was much stronger than him at that time, he couldn't detect Zero Wei, and now, he finally figured it out. There is actually a skill to absorb the other party's cultivation out of thin air. He looked shocked. Not long after Yuanjie left, he returned because he had a very bold idea. Teachers, their eyes, take them out and leave them for me. On the other side, in front of General Flying Tiger, Marshal Li, and 10 phaseless realm generals, there were 30 strong people of the SSS-level Flying Eagle country, flying against them. Sharingan dynasty, invading the Flying Eagle country, you must pay the price. After wiping the blood spilled from the corner of his mouth, Marshal Li gritted his teeth and said, from the time when your Flying Eagle country rebelled against the Celestial Empire and pointed fingers at the Yingzhou and Kangoo regions, we couldn't make peace. Someone from the Flying Eagle country laughed, so what? This is always the case with the treatment of the weak. You don't think that it is still the powerful Celestial Empire back then, right? Did you finish the trash talk? A cyan flash appeared beside Marshal Li. These words angered the people of the Flying Eagle country, who shouted angrily, cowardly and incompetent Sharingan people, you are always only worthy to submit to our Flying Eagle country. It was like this before, and so is the future. Suddenly, Yuanjie covered his right eye, his left eye was reincarnated, the runes in his pupils were turning, and the white light flickered. Zubichira, the space ahead became cloudy, the sky and the earth were dark, and a pair of blue-white eyes appeared in the air, blinking and blinking. Like the eyes of a demon from hell, it is extremely strange. When everyone in the Flying Eagle country saw the huge eyes that suddenly appeared in the air, they couldn't help but tighten their hearts, as if something bad was about to happen. In the blink of an eye, the entire space was like a mirror, and a crack began to spread from the middle. As you know, my composition is very complicated. I think the Ajura skill is very handsome and very consistent, and then I wrote it in. Chapter 279. The eyes in the air, not only they see, everyone on the battlefield sees. They did not dare to take a big breath, for fear that in the next step, divine punishment would befall them. What's going on? My body? 30 Flying Eagle country powerhouses found themselves fixed. Start with the feet, petrify little by little, until the terrified and scared expression is frozen. Suddenly, the spatial mirror cracks and this area became larger and larger. Click, the mirror cracks. The 30 SSS-level Flying Eagle country powerhouses who turned into stone sculptures were shattered, turned into dust, scattered in the heavens and the earth, and were erased in this world. Marshal Li and General Flying Tiger looked at each other, and they both saw each other's shock. This is 30 SSS-level physique powerhouses, just so vulnerable? What's special? One move in seconds. If they hadn't fought that group of people, they wouldn't have believed it. They couldn't tell each other, but now here in Emperor Yuan, it was actually solved easily. The most terrifying thing is that the other party has no power to fight back. Before he could even shout the screams, he turned into stone sculptures. So, is this the difference between genuine and pirated? Yuanjie looked at the dust floating in the air and sneered, artificial pseudo-god? Huh, I am the real god, it's less than half a point for me. At this time, there were still 17 Flying Eagle country mutants with SSS-level physique left on the field, and most of them awakened the power of the 5 elements. For example, the gold element, like the early Magneto, can control all metals to attack, causing huge damage to the Yuan soldiers. Can you imagine that Yuan's weapon was controlled by him to turn back and attack, and that Yuan soldier who lost his weapon became a live target? The strong person who awakened the wood element, similar to Marvel's elemental girl Lin Li, can communicate and manipulate natural plants, let them break out of the earth, mutate plants by rearranging the structure of DNA, and control plants to attack Yuan soldiers. The strong person who awakens the water element will turn into an iceman and shoot a cloud of steam from his hand, turning it into an ice sculpture. A strong person who awakens the fire element will become a fireman, with similar abilities to the iceman. The strong man who awakened the earth element, like Spider-Man's villain Sandman, can gigantic his body and restore it infinitely. No matter which ability is awakened, it is an extremely difficult existence. These 17 SSS-level mutants caused great trouble to more than 20 phaseless realm Sharingan powerhouses. I blanch. This Sandman is so annoying, how can he not be killed? Restore your body with sand all the time. The old man who controls the metal is also very annoying, although it is not lethal to us, but the threat to the soldiers is the greatest. Who can save me? The 2 heavens of ice and fire are so difficult to top. At this time, a black flame suddenly burned on the iceman. The iceman smiled grimly. That's it? Want to hurt me too? Then he raised his hand and sprayed a cloud of ice mist at the black flame on his shoulder. But I never expected that the black flame did not mean to extinguish, and it burned more and more. Fuck, what the hell is this? The Iceman desperately slapped the black flame with his hand, and called for his companions to help. Chris, you are a fire attribute. Can you absorb this black flame? Chris the Burning Man was on fire all over his body, unable to read his expression. I'll try. After that, he took a deep breath and wanted to inhale the black flame into his abdomen. The inhalation was inhaled, but he felt that his stomach was hot and very uncomfortable. Fuck, Abo. You hurt me. Yes. The Burning Man covered his stomach and rolled on the ground in pain, and a cluster of black flames broke through his stomach and burned out of his body. It didn't take long for the Iceman and the fireman to be burned by Amaterasu. Yuanjie looked at their miserable situation funny. Who said that Amaterasu could not burn people? At least 10,000 people died under his heavenly light. Magneto stepped on a piece of iron under his feet, towards the group of Yuan soldiers. He raised his big hand, and all the guns and ammunition flew up. The muzzle was twisted and aimed at the Yuan soldiers one by one. Die? Damn aggressors. And at this moment, his body was dragged by an irresistible huge force. Having lost control of the owner, the guns and ammunition suspended in the air immediately fell to the ground. Magneto looked at Yuanjie with white and purple eyes in amazement. Do you want to compare with each other? See if your metal control ability is comparable to my Vientian lead? Yuanjie smiled and loosened the other party's restraints. Magneto quickly put a piece of iron remote control at his feet. So high, falling down will definitely die. He knew that with his strength of the 3rd level of Alpha, how could he beat the other party? Yuanjie's current realm cannot be measured even by him with professional instruments. Most likely, it is the legendary Omega level. Without thinking, he controlled all the guns and ammunition, as well as countless pieces of metal, and attacked Yuanjie. He was going to run, running far away, and he didn't think he had a chance of victory. Yuanjie silently opened the Shinra heavenly sign, bounced all the bullets, and then the heavenly hand force swapped the positions of the two. Magneto did not expect that one day he would actually die a metal. He looked down, covered the huge piece of metal inserted in his waist, and snorted. Blood flowed through his hands, and he fell from the sky in despair. After solving Magneto, Yuanjie moved his gaze to Sandman. He turned on Susanoo and stood in front of this Sandman, like the difference between a giant elephant and an ant. The Golden Giant stepped on the Sandman with one foot, trampling the other party into pieces. Then, his Susanoo burned black flames at his big feet. Ugh! The Sandman let out a scream of pain. He could truly feel that his sand was being burned to ashes. Sand is like cells in his body, and once the cells are destroyed, he can't live. But now he was trampled under his feet, and the aura on that Golden Giant was too terrifying, far better than him. He can't move at all, otherwise he can break free of the sand and reorganize his body outside. The screams continued to echo in this land, and everyone in Yuan shouted in their hearts. With the power of one person, Yuanjie defeated 50 super mutants with SSS-level physique in the Flying Eagle country. The soldiers were thrilled to see Emperor Yuan so powerful. Sharingan has Yuan Emperor, why not be happy? Yuanjie left a mutant who looked a little identity, and he walked over slowly. You, don't come here. Yuanjie didn't understand. But he could feel that the other party was very afraid at the moment. The mutant's eyes suddenly froze, and he came to a blood-red world. A blood moon hung high in the sky, and he was tied to a cross. In front of him, there were 5 identical-looking people, holding various torture instruments in their hands. Say, where's your transformation base? Say or not, is your mouth hard? Then I'll see if you are soft or hard except for your mouth. Chapter 280. God, this man is Satan. Rama, a mutant who was caught in the moon reading space, had bruises on his forehead, which was too torturous. It was comparable to Lingqi, although he didn't know what it was like to be Lingqi, probably about the same. Yuanjie, who was holding the axe, slashed an axe into his forehead, and even stirred it. Say or not, immediately afterwards, a knife was inserted into his abdomen, bringing out a piece of blood. Don't say it, do you? Ugh, Rama was cut off. That's where men are weakest. I said, he gasped, his eyes a little evasive, not daring to look at the other party. Wu Yuanjie stopped the abuse and smiled. Say it early, say no early, you don't have to be tortured. Rama pouted. He was determined to die at first, but he didn't expect that it was very strange here. He just wanted to die and couldn't die, The wound healed indefinitely, and then the pain doubled. Rao is such a strong man as him, he insisted for 2 minutes before raising his hand to surrender, and the others were afraid that they would not be able to hold out for 10 seconds. The base for our transformation of biochemical people is, after Yuanjie learned the news, he waved his hand and wrapped the other party's body in black flames. Rama struggled in pain, and he shouted angrily, "Didn't you promise to release me? Did I say that, you?" At this point, Rama made it clear that nothing was useless and that he was going to die. Compared to the torture of the moon reading space, he felt that Amaterasu's burning pain was just like that. Yesterday, he had just evolved from S-class physique to SSS-level, and he was full of spirit, thinking that he was invincible in the world, but he didn't expect that only 21 hours had passed. He knocked on the door of God's old man. In order to verify whether the other party's intelligence was true, Yuanjie turned into a streamer and immediately flew to his destination. When I arrived, I found it deserted. He opened his eyes and saw a laboratory 1,000 meters below the surface. The peeping eyes of the white eyes can actually be blocked. Yuanjie was stunned. He didn't expect that Little Hawk's technology was so developed. He began to have a sense of crisis, and then let the other party's technology develop. Maybe in the future, even he would be unable to cope. The 12 Daojades behind him spun rapidly in front of him, forming a powerful tornado. The tornado broke the entire surface, and the laboratory staff under the surface suddenly felt a violent earthquake. What? 10 seconds later, a square iron box was revealed. Yuanjie raised his right hand, his right eye flashed purple, and he frowned and shouted, "Vientian heavenly lead." Everyone in the lab was scared half to death by the sudden feeling of weightlessness. A bottle of potion fell to the ground, and the milky white potion inside spilled out, smoking and corrosion, emitting an unpleasant smell. The strong people who were waiting in line to inject the god-making agent noticed this scene and couldn't help but whiten their faces. Is this the thing going to shoot into us? What fuck? So scary. They want to be stronger, but they want to live. They are not so great and selfless, and the reason why they go to war is because they give too much? Now when they really witnessed the terrifying destructive power of the god-making agent, they couldn't help but retreat. The violent shaking lasted a full minute. Pumping out of the laboratory from a kilometer-deep mud pit has a very high resistance. However, Yuanjie's skill was so high that he wasted only 10% of his spiritual power to suck the laboratory out and smash it to the ground again. Finally, Golden Susanu stepped on it and squashed the lab. The people inside, before they could escape, turned into meat mud and shattered the bones. As for the god-making agent in the laboratory, Yuanjie was not the slightest interested. It is a 3-point poison, not to mention the Sentai Heavenly Potion, which can turn an ordinary person into a super genius alive, and you say that he does not have any side effects, and the ghosts do not believe it. After stepping on a few feet fiercely, Yuanjie walked away. At this time, the door of the laboratory was opened, and a bloody man crawled out. Lael was a top powerhouse of the 9th Order of the Great Late Realm, and he never thought that he would be so embarrassed. He spat on the blood and cursed on his mouth. What are you scolding? Can you speak Yuan dialect? I don't understand. Lael instantly turned white with fright, and he looked around, but did not find the presence of any figure. Who? Don't pretend to be a ghost there, I'll tell you, I'm scared. Ha 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 ha, the hearty laughter echoed in the air, but there was nothing around it, making people shudder. Ugh, a long knife was inserted into Lael's back, and he watched, a long knife floating in the air, as if he was walking by himself. Shout, the louder you scream, the more excited I am, and no one will save you if you break your throat. Ha ha ha, the laughter of the Wheelgrave doppelganger was rampant, but no one responded to him. Because people are dead. The Wheel Tomb side prison doppelganger opened Sasano, folded the laboratory in half, condensed it into a twist, and finally stepped on it into an iron ball. Finally, he threw the iron ball back to its original place, and a black flame rose up into the sky, covering the entire kilometer-deep pit. Lest the night grow and dream more, Yuanjie took Yisuking and Zion on to the border area of the Flying Eagle country the next day. Although the two women still do not deal with it, they will not fight. Yuanjie had a headache when he saw their eyes colliding with each other, and said silently, if you want to prove that you are stronger than each other, then kill more enemies than anyone, really? Elder brother. Yuanjie nodded, just right, so that the two had a sense of competition, so as not to fight in fighting. Okay brother. I went. Zionon said without saying a word, opened her angel wings, and was about to fly out, Brother G reminded her. Remember, only kill nobles and federal soldiers, and don't kill civilians who don't do anything. Received. Yuanjie turned his head to look at Yisuking, and the other party just met his eyes. Yisuking smiled and asked, do you want me to win? Didn't you win long ago? Then I'll let her be good this time. I already have you. I get more than her. Yisuking hugged him, put a little water on his lips, and said softly, I'm leaving. Okay, stay safe. Since the Flying Eagle country has the ability to develop a god-making agent, the devil knows what strange things they will make next time. I have to admit that the scientific and technological strength of the Flying Eagle country is really strong. Therefore, Yuanjie can be described as a nest this time. Leaving only Yu Meng in an SSS-level town to guard Sharingan. 3 genuine SSS-level physique phaseless realms, plus 1 mortal realm power, even if there are hundreds of pseudo-gods on the opposite side. There can be no chances. Chapter 281. The Art of the Paper of God. Zionon pointed to the void. A copper-walled Flying Eagle army base. The building instantly collapsed, turning into blank pieces of paper. The Flying Eagle soldiers in the base watched as the roof disappeared, exposing them to the air. The white paper flying in the sky and the snowflakes are very beautiful. Destroy? Suddenly, the faces of the white papers, which were originally angels, revealed a hideous sight at this time. The white paper burned, and the most terrible thing was that they contained huge energy and exploded directly. Boom, like setting off firecrackers, crackling non-stop. In this way, a small soldier base was destroyed in Zionon's hands. The soldiers inside don't know what happened yet, and they were born like that, and I regret it. On the other side, Yisuking was dressed in white armor, her slender black hair was draped behind her back, and her expression was grim, exuding a domineering queen aura. Army of the Undead, the black magic staff swiped into the void, and a black momentum descended from the sky, like a slap on the ground, and the entire continent shook directly. Fack, an earthquake. The Flying Eagle soldiers in the base hurriedly dressed. Their work time was 10 o'clock, it was only 8 o'clock, and most of them had not yet got up. When they walked out the door disheveled, they saw a large number of zombies dressed similar to themselves staggering over. Among them, there are their former comrades in arms. Ref, what's going on with you? Don't recognize me? I'm John. The zombie named Ruff screamed and shied John, his eyes widened and he fell straight up in disbelief. 10 seconds later, John's body stood up in a very strange position, his pupils were unfocused, his movements were very stiff, and like Ruff, he rushed towards his comrades with a strange cry. This is the horror of the army of the undead. The more people the other party dies, the more fallen corpses will continue to join, and the more terrifying this army of the undead will be. Just 5 minutes had passed, and the number of the army of the undead had more than doubled. It was simply a hopeless battle, and soon the soldiers of the Flying Eagle Nation surrendered with the white flag. But won't surrender kill you? Think too much, damn or die. This is war, and there should never be so-called mercy. You are kind to the enemy, and the enemy may not be merciful to you. This is the law of survival in this world. A group of phaseless realm powerhouses played forward, and behind them were 1 billion Sharingan soldiers, marching towards the capital of the Flying Eagle country. The lord of the Flying Eagle country was very anxious. He didn't expect that the Yuan dynasty's action would be so decisive and hide him by surprise. Yes, he has 500 god-making agents, but it takes time for this thing to make false gods, a batch of 100, an average batch of 3 days. Moreover, Yuanjie had destroyed one of the laboratories before, and about 100 god-making agents were destroyed, which made his heart ache incomparably. It's all money, and because there are not many extraterrestrial meteorites in the world, basically use one less, and if it is gone, it is gone. Extraterrestrial meteorites that can make god-making agents are very demanding, and they must be more than 10,000 light-years away from Lansing to be useful. Lansing's overall space technology is basically in a state of stagnance. Everyone believes that Lansing has special awakened people, even in the entire universe. Their strength must be at the top, so they don't have the slightest sense of crisis at all. There are only 150 SSS-level mutants left in the Flying Eagle country, and the country lord urgently summoned them back to the national capital to guard it, and other laboratories are also hurrying to create strong people. If the capital of the country is lost, then everything is over. Ahead is Pheno, the capital of the Flying Eagle country. Marshal Li came to Emperor Yuan's site and said he didn't expect that one day, When he visited the capital of the Flying Eagle country for the first time, he actually came with a large number of troops. This has become the dream of everyone in the army, and any soldier who can participate in this battle is honored. Okay, the emperor will give them a gift. Yuanjie drank a few bottles of recovery potion and restored his state to the best state. Then he closed his eyes, clasped his hands together, and a minute later, he suddenly opened his eyes. Heavenly obstruction, shocking star. As soon as the words fell, a picture appeared in the eyes of all the Yuan soldiers that they would never forget for the rest of their lives. A huge extraterrestrial meteorite with a diameter of 300,000 li broke through the clouds, covering 1/3 of the Flying Eagle Kingdom capital. The people of the Flying Eagle country raised their heads, and they were stupid in an instant. Extraterrestrial meteorites covered the sky and exuded an extremely terrifying majesty. One by one, the Yuan soldiers looked at the back of the imperial robe in adoration. This is their emperor, this is their strongest person in Sharingan. One move shocked the world, wept ghosts and gods, and made countless enemies fearful. Is this something that can be done by manpower? The moon dance god's eyes widened and he looked at the huge meteorite in amazement. Li Tiansha swallowed his spit and said slowly, "No, Emperor Yuan is not a person, he is a god, a real god. In front of him, we are like the light of rice. I really didn't expect that he was still my student." The moon dance god looked at Li Tiansha with a strange expression. "Dean, are you inferior?" Li Tiansha shook his head and said, "No, it's not just my inferiority. All the geniuses in this era will be eclipsed in front of Emperor Yuan. Because of the name of this era, it is called Yuanjie." Even Zizishuang turned her head to stare at Yuanjie in shock. Such a big scene of terrifying moves, even in her peak God King realm, it was impossible to do. There may be only one person in today's world. That was his grandfather, Yuanjie. Sure enough, all the men of the Yuan family are perverts, right? She couldn't help but think back to that era, and the most dazzling genius was Yuanjie's brother, Yuan Hong. Back then, a pair of eyes destroyed the world and destroyed the heavens and the earth, making the entire heaven and earth lose their brilliance. Today's Yuanjie only has a phaseless realm cultivation, which is actually even more outrageous than his grandfather's brother. The huge extraterrestrial meteorite is falling at an extremely fast speed by the wind. The Lord of the Flying Eagle country gave birth to a feeling of powerlessness. Such a terrifying move. Even if 150 SSS chicken mutants are arranged, can they be beaten? Yuanjie's power has transcended the cognition of this world, making countless people smack their tongues in fear. This move, the super-enhanced celestial barrier shock, directly expanded the extraterrestrial meteorite that was originally only 80,000 li at most to 300,000 li in diameter. This is the true ability of Yuanjie to write the kaleidoscope of wheel eyes, and it is only today that he has fully brought it into play. Although his kaleidoscopic chakra eye does not have any illusions and attack moves, it has an extremely powerful effect. It is to be able to infinitely strengthen the power and range of the move, as long as the spiritual power is enough. How outrageous it can be created for you. Chapter 282. The 150 SSS-level mutants were on their way at this time, and they saw the huge extraterrestrial meteorite from a distance. They were stunned for a while, and then said with excited expressions, "That extraterrestrial meteorite must have been created by the powerhouse of our Flying Eagle country. Only the Flying Eagle man can do it." That's right. The Flying Eagle people have the highest bloodline in the world and are the most noble race in the world. Maybe not? If yes, it is also necessary to shout what we are doing when we come back. Everyone was dry silent, and the good atmosphere was ruined by U-Boy. When they flew closer to take a look, they found that the Sharingan soldiers had already arrived in the city. And the extraterrestrial meteorite that they had high hopes for fell in the center of the city of Pheno, the capital of the Flying Eagle country. Send. Some people have the intention to retreat, and quietly want to run. Stay in the Green Mountains. Do not worry about firewood. When you cultivate for a period of time, you will definitely be able to reverse the Yuan and restore the eagle. However, Yuanjie had been observing Fang Yuan Bailey with open eyes. The sudden appearance of so many people here must not be simple. He was a flying thunder god, flashing in, silently mixing in the crowd of 150. Now, Flying Thunder God has changed the form of his skill through the kaleidoscope exclusive pupil technique that has evolved into the Eye of Reincarnation. It can engrave the Flying Thunder God mark at an ultra-long distance through the white eye, so as to realize the operation of teleporting hundreds of miles. At this time, the group of people did not seem to have noticed Yuanjie's arrival. Team leader go. Captain Flying Eagle frowned. He tightened the shield in his hand and said, "Where do you want to go? The national capital is just around the corner. Do you want to retreat?" "Captain, you also saw that the enemy is too strong. How can this be fought? Take the head." "I can do this all day." The man was stunned. "Aren't you running away?" Captain Flying Eagle said with a firm look in his eyes. "If you run once, you will keep running, and if you stand up and fight back, one day you will have a chance." After speaking, he put the shield behind his back, left a word, and rode his motorcycle straight to the national capital. "Even if I have to pay a high price, I will not hesitate." Others shook their heads. There was a chance to hook 8, and the people were gone. After the captain of the Flying Eagle left, Yuanjie smiled in the crowd and said, "The captain is gone. Don't you keep up." Only then did everyone notice that there was a man dressed like that place, speaking in a foreign voice. "Who are you?" Yuanjie raised his right hand. "I'm God." With a snap, he snapped his fingers. Everyone was blinded by a strong white light. After a while, the white light dispersed. More than 100 Flying Eagle country powerhouses with SSS-level physiques were shaky. They watched as their bodies gradually turned to ash, and they fell to the ground with a blank face. With such a close white-eyed coercion, the true gods have to die when they come, let alone their group of false gods. Yuanjie smiled slightly. He grabbed a handful of dust in the air, and then blew it off. Before Captain Flying Eagle arrived at the city, he was beaten and captured by the powerhouse of the Yuan phaseless realm. "Let go of me!" Roger struggled and shouted. At this time, Yuanjie slowly walked over. He clapped his palm and said, "Captain, I'm your fan." Yuanjie took out a poster of Roger's from his arms. At that time, when Yuanjie first discovered it, he didn't expect that this world really existed as a team leader in a superhero movie in his previous life. And the two look very similar, the same muscular, the same handsome. Unfortunately, here he is the existence of Thanos. Unfortunately, there is no savior Iron Man in this world, and Iron Man was born in Tianyuan. Yuanjie couldn't help but think of a classmate in the elite class of the Wasteland Academy, who had discovered that her mind was very smart, and the things she invented were comparable to Stark. Maybe it can be cultivated later. "Captain, the reason why I caught you is not to kill you. Instead, let you become the spokesperson of the Yuan dynasty here." "Bah, dream." Captain Flying Eagle refused. Yuanjie smiled indifferently. "It's just work. Who works for? Does it matter? The Flying Eagle Kingdom is gone, and I won't work for you as a Gentile anyway." Yuanjie opened his arms and said arrogantly, "The people of the Flying Eagle country will usher in the Mingjun, which is a great good thing for them." If you think about it, are the people really happy? In the Flying Eagle country, 80% of the people are slaves, and they have worked hard for 20% of the nobles to make cattle and horses, and they can't even change their food and clothing for a lifetime. Is this the ideal country you want? Is this the liberal democracy you seek? Captain Flying Eagle was stunned by Yuanjie's mouth, and he fell into deep thought. In fact, he was also born as a slave, and only later because of his great achievements in battle, he was promoted to become a civilian. Just commoners, not nobles, only slightly freer than slaves. He opened his mouth for a long time before saying, "I don't believe you, you are a Gentile." Yuanjie approached, patted him on the shoulder and said, "When I overthrow all the 4 nobles and the Federation of the Flying Eagle country, then the people of the Flying Eagle country will usher in true freedom. Whatever happens tomorrow, promise me one thing, never forget who you are, not to be a good soldier, but to be a good person." Yuanjie left this sentence with deep meaning and turned to leave. 3 extraterrestrial meteorites with a diameter of 300,000 li fell and blew up the capital of the Flying Eagle country, Pheno. Most of the people who could live in the capital were nobles and only a few slaves. They are all a group of vampires who suck human blood to satisfy their hunger. Just when Yuanjie wanted to take the Sharingan soldiers into the city, a huge lightning bolt struck in front of him. The thunder light dispersed, and a red-cloaked man with a hammer appeared. "Thor," Yuanjie's eyes narrowed, "another one, right?" Thor didn't talk more nonsense to him, and a hammer was thrown over, with the power of endless thunder and lightning. Yuanjie only turned slightly sideways and dodged the blow. Mjolnir returned from behind him like a boomerang, but it passed directly through his body. Thor was stunned. Can he still play like this? "You listen to me," Thor shouted and flew into the sky. The sky and the earth changed, and in an instant a black cloud overwhelmed the city. "You can dodge one move, you can't dodge the second move." He fell from the sky and slammed into Yuanjie with a palpitating thunder jungle. Boom! After landing, It exploded into a thunder grid and scattered around. Xiaonan turned on the paper shield, Yu Suking raised her hand, and a bone shield appeared in front of her. The two worked together to resist the terrifying power of thunder and lightning. Marshal Li and everyone breathed a sigh of relief. You know, Thor is the son of the god of the Flying Eagle country. The so-called son of the god is a genius born with an SSS-level physique, and his strength has also reached the top of the world. Alpha, Great Knight, full level. However, Thor was like a ghost. All the thunder directly passed through Yuanjie's body, and even his all-out blow, as if hitting the air, could not hit at all. Thor picked up the hammer and said with a calm face, I have seen flying gods, I have seen aliens descending from the sky, I have seen weapons made by geniuses, which you can't imagine, but this is something I have never seen. This is Kamui Void. Have you seen it now? At this time, the Mjolnir in Thor's hand moved, as if attracted by a powerful force, wanting to break free from his hand. Mjolnir's hammer was held by Yuanjie in his hand. How is this possible? Thor's eyes widened. Chapter 283. Why? Why can you pick up Mjolnir? Thor screamed in disbelief, holding his head. I guess you picked up this weapon, right? Yuanjie threw the hammer in his hand and smiled mysteriously. As far as I know, you were originally just a mortal, and during a farming operation, you accidentally picked up this weapon from outside the sky. It is this hammer that gives you the talent of the Son of God, and you are not born with SSS level. You were actually transformed by this artifact. The reason why you changed your name to Thor is because the hammer asked you to do so. Your original name is Richard. Since Yuanjie first saw this hammer, he had a feeling that it did not belong to this world at all. To be precise, it should belong to the upper realm. Being able to turn a waste into a top genius, this weapon can be called an artifact. It is an artifact that everyone dreams of, and if this news is released, it is likely to cause chaos in the world. Moreover, Thor is said to have been born for 10,000 years and is still a young adult. It is enough to see that this Mjolnir is against the sky. It empowers people without any side effects. The above news was all investigated by Susai's Wind and Rain building. Wind and Rain Tower is the most incredible intelligence organization in the world. Thor frowned. He didn't expect that the other party even knew about the events of 10,000 years ago, and saw through his secret at a glance. But how could he admit it? Nonsense, I am a born son of God, not at all what you say. Quickly return the hammer to me. Look, someone is in a hurry. Yuanjie continued, the condition that Mjolnir can be picked up is, a righteous, kind and recognized person. Think about what you have done in these 10,000 years. Do you really deserve it? Everyone saw the change in Soul's expression, and thought that what Emperor Ying Yuan said was true. They couldn't help but look at Mjolnir. Their eyes were hot. No one can refuse this temptation. Anyone wants to become stronger. Thor felt that the divine power in his body was gradually draining, and he panicked. From thrift to luxury, from luxury to thrift. He has been strong for 100 centuries, and you let him be an ordinary person again? No. He firmly refused. Thor rushed over with red eyes, and his body was surrounded by a heavy thunder, smashing towards Yuanjie. However, without Mjolnir's attack bonus, his damage was simply not enough to see. Even Susanoo's defense at one stage could not be broken. Susanoo split a bone claw and grabbed Thor. He struggled desperately, and countless thunder descended, making people dare not look directly. Let go of me, bitch, it seems that you really want this hammer, Yuanjie chuckled, then I'll give it back to you. After speaking, Yuanjie threw the Mjolnir out and exerted divine power in the air. Mjolnir's hammer suddenly entered the divine power space dimension and immediately broke off the connection with Thor's divine power. Thor's body quickly aged and he became a dying old man. There was no flesh and blood all over his body, only skin and bones. Losing the blessing of divine power, Thor quickly lost his breath. He tried hard to keep his eyes open and see the world again. He recalled the past, the surprise of picking up Mjolnir for the first time and transforming, the excitement of the first shack, the first time a loved one left him. 100 years later, he still looks 30 years old, and his daughter is old and sick in bed. He was left alone with his daughter, but he was too busy saving the world and didn't have time to take care of her. So, he took her. Is it really costless to pick up Mjolnir? There must be. The price is the goodness of the holder. What will you become when you suddenly have godlike superpowers? Is it to become a Superman who is selfless and fights for humanity? Or will it become a selfish, extremely twisted Homelander? Not surprisingly, Thor became the latter. In the 10,000 years that he had gained great power, He had mutilated hundreds of millions of people, and even he himself did not know how many. Again and again, he enjoyed the intense pleasure of stepping on dead ends, and at the same time felt particularly lonely. Because of all his achievements, no one can share. For example, how many ants he trampled to death today. He was satisfied, but he didn't know who to talk to. Looking back at Yuanjie's history, some people have accused him of being too cruel. First, the Super Shinra Heavenly Campaign divided the K family and destroyed the group, and nearly 1 million people died. Immediately followed by the Ning family, as well as various small families and Zhou families, he participated in the persecution of an unknown number of people. After coming to power, he planned a single non-accidental event that directly detonated the Great War, and the brutal war destroyed the entire world. Some people say that he is a demon who treats human life like a mustard. Perhaps, but everyone with extraordinary powers has blood on their hands. The difference is, what is the motive for the killing? Yuanjie used to start everything for himself, and if he didn't make a move, others would be cruel to him. After ascending the throne, everything was for Yuan, in order to realize his true ideal of peace under the unification of the world. He is different from Thor, who is simply cool for the sake of coolness. Yuanjie threw the corpse of the aging Dragon Bell Thor aside. He took out Mjolnir's hammer from the Shenwei space. He was thinking, who should this hammer be given to? Suddenly, he discovered something strange, which was discovered by the Wheel Tomb prison. The Wheel Tomb is in a different dimension, and they noticed that there is another person hiding in the shadows. The man seemed to have sensed it, so he acted very carefully. Come out, Joker. Without waiting for Yuanjie to make a move, Yi Suking frowned. Her black staff turned around and swiped towards the right rear, and a person dressed in black and gold armor and a green cloak behind him was dragged out of the other space. When he was dragged out, people were stupid. What he is best at is stealth assassination, not the kind of simple stealth, but being in a different dimension, suddenly stabbing you. He has never failed for thousands of years. At the same time, he is also good at the art of disguise. Even if he is many realms higher than him, he cannot see it. The first time he was dragged out, he disguised himself as a flying tiger general. Because where he fell out, there was only the flying tiger general around. Li Changzi saw an imposter, and he was angry. Abominable, he turned to Emperor Yuan and explained, Emperor Yuan, he is an imposter, I am real. The pretender made an equally indignant expression and said, he is fake, I am real. Yuanjie silently opened his eyes, but found that the two were exactly the same whether they were dressed, physical, or even spiritual veins, but there was a very obvious difference. That is, the weapon of the pretender, the dagger. It is known that Marshal Li's weapon was a spear. He can imitate any appearance of the other party, but the item cannot be changed. Moreover, who would have thought that Yuanjie had the skills of perspective? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 284. Yuanjie attracted the other party with a Vientian heavenly attraction and fixed it with a black rod. You are Loki. Yuanjie walked over and patted his face, mockingly, just like you are still an SSS-level physique. Have you awakened to sing and dance rap? Loki's face was flushed. His SSS-level physique was originally very against the sky, and no one could find out where he was, and he could assassinate the other party silently. Moreover, he can perfectly disguise the appearance and body shape of others. He didn't understand why he had fallen in front of this man. Suddenly, Loki looked excited and said, You lowly and lowly people, don't question my abilities, I am a god, I tell you. Before he finished speaking, his legs were grabbed by Genji with Susanoo's bone hands and slammed to the ground. Bang bang, big pits were smashed out of the ground, and everyone was shocked by Yuanjie's sudden violent behavior. Susanoo grew bigger, stomped Loki flattened with one kick, and blood burst out. Yuanjie glanced at his corpse with disdain. Puny god. After solving the two sons of the gods, the Flying Eagle Kingdom no longer had the power to resist. The DuPont family was the first to surrender, but their surrender did not give their family a chance to survive. In the end, the four major families of Adams, Ross and James were all sanctioned. The rising sun shines warm rays on the earth. The people of the Flying Eagle country have ushered in a new day from today. No one knew that in a dark corner somewhere, a black and gold armor, wearing a green cape, and the figure of a horned helmet walked out from the special crack. The harsh sunlight cannot pass through the building and is reflected in this corner. Loki's face was gloomy, and he cursed secretly. Fortunately, Lao Tzu prepared the illusion in advance, otherwise he would really die. Sharingan dynasty, this enemy, I will definitely repay it. Loki felt the flow of spiritual power in the space, and the corners of his mouth hooked. It seems that Ragnarok is about to come early. The news that the Flying Eagle country was captured by the Sharingan dynasty within 3 days soon spread to all parts of the world. The Black Duck country, which is still stubbornly resisting, is at a loss. The lord of the Great Bear country, whose fingers rested on the nuclear bomb launch button, was so nervous that his hands couldn't stop shaking. They originally thought that the two strongest powers in the world, the Sharingan dynasty and the Flying Eagle country, would fight for a long time and give themselves a respite. Perhaps, after both sides have lost both, Mimi can steal a chicken. I didn't expect it, I never expected it. In 3 days, it's occupied. Doesn't it mean that hundreds of SSS-level physique powerhouses suddenly appeared in the Flying Eagle country? How could it be so vulnerable? Is it a bluff, or is it a Sharingan dynasty covering the sky with one hand? The two lords couldn't sleep well, and in their dreams they were all ruins of the palace. As they wished, at noon the next day, Yuanjie led more than 20 faceless realm masters to the Black Duck Kingdom Palace on time. They directly ignored all the lines of defense and sabotaged all the way in. None of them need a meta master, others are enough to deal with. Black Duck Country only has an SSS-level physique, but its cultivation is not high. Moreover, the ability to awaken is slightly embarrassing. It is able to control the dirt and summon sand soldiers. The most unheavenly thing is that the sand soldiers can't actually fight chickens in the air. So what's the other use? In addition, it is possible to build a defensive tower on the spot, and the defensive tower can attack the strong in the air. But the problem came, the frequency of attacks was too slow, and the Sharingan dynasty bulldozed the defensive tower with his life. Not surprisingly, the 5 faceless realm masters wiped out that SSS-level physique genius. The new lord of the Black Duck country, carrying a family of old and young, as well as the entire imperial court, knelt in front of the palace gate. Can you let us go? Emperor Yuan. The corner of Yuanjie's mouth twitched, and then said, let you go? Can those Yuan girls who were mutilated by you be resurrected? Even if I promise you, they won't be able to say yes. The new lord of the Black Duck country still had a glimmer of hope, and he said weakly, those bad things were all done by the former country lord, and they have nothing to do with me. Former lord? The former lord of the country is not your father? It is reasonable for the father to pay the debt to the son, right? As soon as the Black Duck country lord retreated, the humble expression on his face disappeared, replaced by a crazy maniacal laugh. Ha ha ha, do you really think that a great country's desperate fight will be so simple? I was thinking of talking to you guys properly, but as a result, I didn't have to talk. Then bury yourself here. Boom. I saw that the new lord of the Black Duck country cut his palm with a dagger, and trickling red blood flowed from his palm. Drop by drop, dripping on the altar in the palace. The altar was activated after receiving the baptism of blood, and runes containing ancient aura sprang up on the altar. At this time, the rest of the Sharingan dynasty noticed that the earth of the Black Duck country was shaking violently, as if something terrible was about to come out. Look! Triangle Tower. The Triangle Tower is the mausoleum of the Black Duck country. Whether rich or poor, before death, after special treatment, will be buried inside. At this time, from the triangular tower, a large body wrapped in white cloth poured out. Mummy, Yuanjie was shocked. The mummies, marching towards the imperial city with their teeth and claws, they have no intelligence, they will only kill. No matter who it is, cut when you meet. Oh my god, there are a lot of mummies, I'm afraid there are tens of billions, right, 10 billion mummies, and corpses that do not know pain, are even more terrifying than the tide of spirit beasts. It is true that the army of mummies can be eliminated, but after all, people are people, and there will always be a moment of exhaustion. A large piece of mummies pressed by black pressure poured in from all directions. I don't know how many people couldn't even resist in the houses they passed, so they were eaten clean. The 30 faceless realm powerhouses of the Sharingan dynasty showed a solemn expression for the first time. Ha ha ha, the new lord of the Black Duck country laughed wildly. He was ready to break the net, even if in the end, he would be swallowed by the mummy tide, and he couldn't let the Yuan dynasty succeed. If you want to take it, then see if you have this strength. This is the corpse of the deceased that has accumulated for 10,000 years, and finally at this moment, the nest is poured out. Yuanjie flew into the air and looked at the huge black duck country palace. He said to the people of the Sharingan dynasty, "You all stand back. Let me come, since you are undead, I Buddha have mercy and pass away. Rest in peace. Go back to where you should go." Yuanjie closed his eyes, and the original cyan color of the 6-mode code on his body gradually became thicker. On his face, a touch of purple eyeshadow appeared. His hair, fluttering in the wind, seemed to be stretched by the breeze, and the white hair that had been long up to his back now touched his knees. Boom, a real 1,000 hands that are 20,000 meters tall rise from the ground. "I don't need your help, I can do it alone." Yuanjie, who had been accumulating for 2.5 minutes, suddenly opened his eyes. The crowd was shocked. Is this the power of humanity? Chapter 285. This is? What the heck? The people of the Black Duck country were stunned, and they swore that they had never seen something so huge in their lives. Tian Yuan looked directly at everyone and was shocked for 10,000 years. Their mouths grew dumbfounded, and their throats twitched. Yuanjie Susanoo brought Akatsuki Organization in, and the three of them stood among the gems above the golden giant's head, looking down on everything in the mortal world. Originally, Susanoo, which was close to 2,000 meters tall, was enough to shock the world and make people admire. However, as soon as the 20,000 meter tall real 1,000 hands came out, it suddenly seemed that Susanoo was much smaller. This trick, an optimistic, Genji drove Susanoo and jumped on top of the wooden Buddha's head. The golden armor covered a pattern behind the big Buddha little by little. At this time, the big Buddha, who was originally sitting cross-legged, slowly stood up with his right hand supported. Every point of action of the behemoth causes a strong vibration. The capital of the Black Duck Kingdom, EV, collapsed half of the city in an instant. The golden armor wrapped the 1,206 Buddha hands behind the great Buddha until it was completely covered. The data comes from Upmagami Kamikaze Mountain. Yuanjie poured more than a dozen bottles of recovery potion. Releasing this move was too costly for him, even with his vast spiritual power content now, it was basically overdrawn. Other people don't want to release this trick for the rest of their lives. Until the Buddha stood up completely. From the perspective of others, it seemed to be carrying a huge bloated shell behind him. At this time, the golden light flourished again. Bright and dazzling. The robe on the body of the big Buddha transforms into warrior armor little by little, and finally closes the Wu-Tengu helmet. Roar, the air seemed to fall into dead silence, and the atmosphere was frozen. This. Nay, Marshal Li and General Flying Tiger swallowed, a scene that they had never imagined. Naturally, they had seen that Emperor Yuan once had a move called True Thousand Hands. However, his transformed Susanoo can actually merge with this big Buddha? Can you still play like this? A Susanoo is enough to be scary, and this is good, directly on the 20,000 meter tall Buddha. Good, so strong, coercion, everyone in Black Duck country was scared. They suddenly had some doubts, could the army of mummies be able to resist in the end? The mummies seemed to sense that some of them were guided by inexplicable forces and began to merge. After a while, a monster with a sphinx was formed. It's just that the sphinx is too small, and in front of the Sasakata Buddha, it is simply not enough to see. Yisuking and Zionan, who were standing on top of the head of the big Buddha, and the pentagonal gem in the center of the wooden man's forehead, felt the most real. Yisuking was originally not afraid of heights, but there was a sea of clouds in front of her, and even the atmosphere was directly broken, and she couldn't help but be afraid. Zionan looked at Yuanjie with great shock, opened his mouth, and only after a long time made a sound. Brother, you are, the big Buddha who was put on. Susa was put on, and a long sword appeared in his right hand. The big Buddha split the clouds with a sword, and the two of them saw clearly. Good fellow, Eevee, the capital of the Black Duck country, who was originally big enough, now looks so small. This is not all. If you have good eyesight, you can even see the seaside city of Sharingan. Roar, the sphinx formed by the combined army of mummies roared and quickly rushed towards the Buddha. Immortal law true thousands of hands, the Buddha hand behind the big Buddha suddenly extended and smashed towards the monster like the sphinx. The sphinx was smashed to the point of dizziness, and had no choice but to constantly replenish the mummy. Rumbling explosions rose one after another, startling up thick puffs of smoke. However, this bit of smoke was not a big problem for the masters of the heavenly Yuan dynasty without a realm. Unexpectedly, this move not only looked scary, but also even more scary to fight. Marshal Li sighed incomparably. General Flying Tiger nodded thoughtfully, and then looked at Li Qing and asked, Dean Li, I don't know how many punches your divine dragon power can hold this big Buddha of Emperor Yuan. Li Qing shook his head and smiled bitterly. Your question seems to be a little redundant. Originally, the Buddha hand would be somewhat damaged when bombarded, but now with Susanoo, not only has the attack power multiplied, but also has extremely strong protection. After 1,206 punches in a row, it took 10 minutes. The Sphinx slumped to the ground, its figure crumbling. Yuanjie narrowed his eyes, but he didn't expect that this beast could barely carry the Buddha's hand that was put on Susanoo, but it impressed him. It really deserves to be a powerful move of the power of the Black Duck Country. But what about 10 billion mummies? A mortal law-topping Buddha. The Buddha shook his left and right shoulders and separated alive from the shell behind his back. The big Buddha grabbed the shell, threw it out, and smashed heavily on the mummy army. Then, the big Buddha who put on Susanoo did not have the burden behind him and rushed up, leaving deep footprints with every step. Brush, the big Buddha holds a sword in both hands, raises it above his head, and cuts it down with a sword. One sword. Breaking the world. The clouds in the sky were cracked, and the ground of the Black Duck Country was a bottomless canyon. Most of the mummies, under this sword, turned into powder. The new lord of the Black Duck Country collapsed on the ground, muttering in his mouth, It's over, it's all late, and all the people of the Celestial Empire are honored. This is their emperor, with supreme power. No matter what the night is, just break it with a sword. Strong people are always intimidating. After Yuanjie showed such terrifying power, no one would have a rebellious heart at all. Before rebelling, you have to weigh how many Buddha hands you can hold. What the? Can't carry a single Buddha hand? Then you are still a chicken. After the dust settles, the wooden Buddha mixes into the dirt and Susanoo disappears. Yuanjie fiercely pretended to force a wave, but the price was very huge, and it could not be slowed down in a dozen days. As soon as he landed on the ground, he fell weakly, but fortunately Yi Suking supported him. Looking at the man she loved, she smiled in her eyes. When you grow up, who would have thought that the little clerk who was only willing to promise in the office back then would shine in the other world? Emperor Yuan has already solved 90% of the mummified army, and the rest is left to others to deal with. Yi Suking held a black magic staff, swiped the void, and the dark momentum reappeared in the world. Rise up from the ground one by one zombies and attack the army of mummies with less than a billion remaining. This is a battle between the undead. Yuanjie returned to the Byakugan Imperial Palace and laid down for 20 days. In these 20 days, a lot has happened around the world. First of all, the Flying Eagle Country, the Sharingan dynasty officially stationed troops and declared its rule, and the captain of the Flying Eagle became a puppet in front of the stage. Then the Black Duck Country, since the day of the shocking war, was not long after it was taken by the Sharingan dynasty and included in the territory. Then there is the Great Bear Country. Before it is fought, it voluntarily surrenders, and without spending a single soldier, take it. Finally, the regions of the world are included in the Yuan territory one by one. At this point, Langsing has only one country, and the name of that country is called Tianyuan. The people of this planet are back in the glory of the Celestial Empire. The world is unified. Marshal Li said with tears in his eyes, Emperor Yuan, he really did it. Under the whole world, it is not the royal land, led the shore of the land, it is not Wang Chen. Chapter 286. In the 20 days that Yuanjie was sick in bed, not only worried the women around him, but also the people who were most afraid. They knew that without Emperor Yuan's move to set the Great Buddha, it would be difficult for them to resist 10 billion mummies on their own. The most important thing is that since Yuanjie took the throne for half a year, great changes have taken place within the imperial court, being gentle at home, tough on the outside world, and deeply popular with the people, and the ministers have never raised their eyebrows so much. A large number of decrees issued by him brought great shock in the hearts of the people, and the life of the Sharingan dynasty underwent tremendous changes, and among the people, Emperor Yuan gained a lot of support. Everyone was accustomed to the existence of Emperor Yuan, and suddenly one day, he collapsed, not knowing when he would wake up. Countless people burned incense at home to worship the Buddha, praying for Emperor Yuan's blessing, hoping that he would recover and return soon. When Wubai officials were confused, they suddenly lost their main heart, and they didn't know what to do for a while. They had to ask Yi Suking to come out and temporarily preside over the overall situation. Although it has been a taboo for women to get involved in politics throughout the ages, there is no way to do it now. Emperor Yuan's relatives were too few, and he was almost alone. Do you still count on the Supreme Emperor who doesn't know where to go all day? Yi Suking had to accept the order, and she temporarily ruled the country on behalf of Yuanjie. Her policy approach is even more radical than Yuanjie's. First of all, she promulgated the all-people military system, and after Tian Yuan reached the age of 20, he was required to perform compulsory military service for 1 year. Second, the hierarchical concept of soldiers, agriculture, industry and commerce was abolished in order to elevate the status of merchants. The Fang market system was abolished, commercial taxes were lowered, agricultural taxes were raised, and farms were set up in the border areas of various provinces for trade activities with the surrounding areas. Through a series of policies, Yi Suking transformed the Sharingan dynasty from an agricultural civilization to an industrial civilization and advance. However, it is difficult for the masses of the people to change their stubborn feudal thinking for a while, and results cannot be seen in a short period of time. In this industrial revolution, Yu Meng'an led the Yu family to take the lead, bet almost all the family property, and open shops around the world. When the capital civilization of the Flying Eagle country, the Great Bear country and the Black Duck country was absorbed, Yi Suking nationalized most of the scientific research results and established a special institution, the Yuanjie department. This move made the Huangfu family never expect. Originally they thought that they could inherit the high-tech industry of the Flying Eagle country. Old ancestor, did that woman do this without putting our Huangfu family in her eyes? Yes, Lao Zhu. Our family took the lead before the Yuan emperor achieved great deeds, and on the way to conquer the world, we did not contribute less money, so she treated the heroes like this? Old ancestor, once the imperial court masters more powerful technology than us, then the imperial Fu family will have less say in this country in the future. The reason why the previous dynasty did not dare to touch the Huangfu family and their subordinate families was because the Huangfu family controlled the most advanced technology, and at the same time, they were also arsenals, whether it was cold weapons or hot weapons, they had to rely on them to provide them. Yuanjie had talked to Yi Suking about this before, so as soon as she took the stage, she immediately took advantage of this excellent opportunity to weaken the advantages of the Huangfu family. When a family monopolizes all the technology that is the lifeblood of the country, from food to weapons, and even ignores nuclear deterrence, a family can immediately assemble an armed force more powerful than the imperial court. No matter who is the emperor, he will not sleep. Through this world war, the Huangfu family made a huge amount of money, all through arms trafficking. Now the assets of the Huangfu family are hundreds of times more than the other families combined, and they deserve to be the first family. Such a strong imperial family is equivalent to holding a death-free gold medal in their hands, plus the relationship between their ancestors and the supreme emperor, it is even more fearless. Huangfu and Ren said with a worried face, "What if that woman dares to do this? She has been ordered by Emperor Yuan." Someone immediately stood up and retorted, "How is it possible? Emperor Yuan had been in a coma since the battle in the Black Duck Kingdom. Where did he have time to have the opportunity to explain all this? Don't say it. It must be that woman's ghost. You look at her, she has a good relationship with Yu Meng'an, so she is so generous to the Yu family, so critical of us. I firmly oppose all her policies." That's right. Must be opposed. I also want to improve the status of businessmen. I think it is quite beautiful. The ideas passed down for hundreds of thousands of years, which can she change with a word? Huangfu Gaogayan closed his eyes silently, and he waited until they finished arguing before speaking. "What are you all saying? Is it to rebel? Before rebelling, you must weigh how many pounds you have. Do you know if you obey? The culprit who pushes the family into the abyss with such nonsense will be you then." These words made everyone feel empowered and instantly sobered up. Conspiracy? They dare not think about it. Although there are 6 phaseless realms in the family, but what? Even if it is 60, a person with an SSS-level physique can easily grasp it. The gap in physique is too terrifying, and the higher the cultivation level, the more terrifying. And look at the Yuan Emperor, a snap of his fingers is more than 200 artificial pseudo-gods in seconds. That's Susa said of the great Buddha, let alone 60 phaseless realms, even 600, 6,000 is not enough for people to hammer. Coupled with the fact that the generals and soldiers in the army are extremely supportive and loving to the Yuan Emperor, if you want to rebel, you must first pass the army level. The army now has 20 more phaseless realms, The family adds up to 13, and the academy is even less, only 5. The so-called rebellion is nothing more than a dead end. Yi Suking's all-people military system, which forced everyone to serve in the military, began to arrange military camps in batches, supplemented by physical fitness, and received patriotic education. On the one hand, let the peaceful army of the world have something to do. On the other hand, in order to cope with the tide of spirit beasts that are likely to invade at any time in the future, at least let the people run faster. The Tianyuan dynasty reached unprecedented unity. At night, Yi Suking and Yu Menghen drank in the dormitory where Yuanjie was lying. In her previous life, when she was under great pressure at work, she liked to drink a little wine to fall asleep. When she got into that position, she realized that governing a country was much more difficult than leading a company. The difficulty is not whether she can do a good job, but that no matter what she does, someone will stand up against it. She didn't know how the little guy managed to convince everyone. Yu Menghen secretly glanced at Yuanjie on the bed, and the worry in his eyes flashed. How long has Emperor Yuan been lying? It's been almost a month. I don't know how long it has been. These days, Zionan has been taking care of him. Yi Suking silently poured the wine and took a sip. This is the fruit wine she brews herself in her spare time, and the wine in this world is not delicious, and she dislikes it very much. Yu Menghen has been messing with her for a long time, and her mouth is also up, and she is skillful and learned to make wine, but she didn't expect the taste to be surprisingly good. Alice, I don't know when he will wake up. Chapter 287. Yuanjie suspected that he had crossed again. This time, he transformed into an English short blue cat and wandered with the little white cat he was holding before falling down. I don't know why, he could read her eyes, full of tenderness, as if he had seen it somewhere. Meow, the little white cat stepped forward affectionately and helped him lick the hair on his body. Then I got tired and fell asleep with my head on his body. The two cats depend on each other, picking up garbage cans to find food when hungry, licking roadside puddles when thirsty, and leaving their footprints in all corners of the city. I don't know how long it took, but suddenly one day, the little white cat was taken away. She fluttered on all 4 legs, baring her paws, and screamed in struggle. Yuanjie ran over, and he shouted frantically in the back, wanting the other party to put the little white cat down. The little white cat was locked in the cage, pitifully and helplessly calling towards the blue cat that was constantly chasing outside the cage. After running for a long time, he couldn't keep up, squatted on the side of the road and licked the water in the pool. After resting for a while, he followed the route and finally found the bad guy who stole the cat. He saw a plate of cat meat on the table, and he blushed, screamed and bit it. Oh, where did the wild cat come from? The bad guy kicks the thin blue cat into the air. Yuanjie's body turned into a parabola and flew into the traffic. Bang! He was hit by one car and flew away, and then his lower body was run over by another car, and his flesh and blood were blurred. Meow. 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 As he died, he saw the little white cat rushing across the road, and she passed through the traffic. Fortunately there were not many cars in this era, and she dragged him away without risk. The little white cat kept calling, whimpering, and licking his lower body without giving up. He saw tears in the eyes of the little white cat, and he cried out weakly. Meow. The little white cat cried and rubbed his head against him, licking his eyes, as well as his lips. Yuanjie's eyelids were heavy, and he finally couldn't support it and slowly closed his eyes. Later, an Audi 100 pulled up on the side of the road, and a 5-year-old girl with a bow came out of the car. She picked up the little white cat and shouted in surprise, "Dad, there's a cat here who is dead, so pitiful." A man walked out of the cab, and he touched his daughter's head dotingly and said, "Suking, then let's bury it." "Good." The little girl stroked the hair on the back of the little white cat's head and looked up at the man. "Dad, can I adopt it?" "Yes. Let's give it a home." Ugh. Yuanjie woke up sweating. He stretched out his hand and confirmed that he was human before breathing a sigh of relief. Being a cat is too uncomfortable, and being a stray cat is even more uncomfortable. He couldn't help but think of the little white cat, wondering if she was doing well later. Yi Suking and Yu Menghen drank wine, then fell asleep on the table. After hearing the sound, Yu Menghen raised his head blankly, subconsciously looked at the bed, and found that Yuanjie was awake, and he sat up. "Emperor Yuan, are you awake?" She ran over in surprise. Yuanjie turned his head and looked. He rubbed his eyes, and thought that he was wrong. "It seems that she dreamed stupidly, and when I saw someone, I thought she was a little white cat." The first time he saw Yu Menghen just now, the figure of a little white cat appeared in his eyes. Yu Menghen saw that his forehead was hung up with cold sweat, and subconsciously wanted to help him wipe it, but thought of his identity, which was really inappropriate. She said embarrassedly, "I'll go and call Sister Yi up." Yuanjie glanced at Yasuking, who was lying on the table, shook his head and said, "No need, let her continue to rest." He got up and walked over and picked her up. Yasuking in her arms moved her body and changed to a more comfortable position. She was grinding her teeth. "Xiaoji, I miss you so much, when will you wake up?" Yuanjie smiled helplessly. This little Nizzy was still worried about him in his sleep. He placed her on the bed and covered her with a quilt. He kissed her lightly on the lips, and instead of waking up, she bid him, "Emperor Yuan, I helped you prepare hot water, you go to wash first." Yu Menghen ran in happily, but when she saw this scene as soon as she came in, she was stunned. Then she patted her head and thought, "What are you jealous of? People are husband and wife, it's normal to do this, and you are not his person." Yuanjie heard the noise, and then left Yasuking's side. "Thank you." Yu Menghen narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, "Emperor Yuan, do you want me to serve you to bathe?" "Well, that's not necessary." Yuanjie touched his nose awkwardly and said, then looked at her and asked strangely, "Your eyes, how can they shine?" Yu Menghen tensed up for a moment. "Don't go over and twist, is there any? Do you look again?" There was no green light now. Yuanjie shook his head. "It seems that I slept for too long, and people are confused. It should be, okay, you go to the bath." She pushed him. Yuanjie lay in the tub and closed his eyes. Since it was the bath water that Yu Menghen helped him prepare, there were some rose petals in the water, exuding a faint floral fragrance sting. "Welcome back to the host. The 30-day return package is ready, please purchase it in time." Yuanjie was stunned. "Have I been lying for 30 days? So long? System, how did this return package trigger?" In his sea of knowledge, the system hugged his chest and said leisurely, "Only when the host is unconscious or loses your strength and leaves for more than 15 days, you can trigger the return package, and the content of the gift package depends on the length of time, so it is." Yuanjie nodded, and when he clicked on the system all, he was stunned. "I blanch it before selling 1 copper spirit coin? Such a conscience? It's not like the style of the dog system." He opened the return gift package curiously, thinking that it was cheap and not good, but he looked stupid. What the hell? Optional reincarnation I skill treasure chest 1, self-selected divine weapon, 1 piece, and 10,000 bottles of, large, cultivation experience potion, 500 golden fragments sent. Oh, my god. Kindness. Yuanjie suddenly had some tears. He wanted to revise the bad reviews, and violently gave the system 5-star praise. "System, this can't all be fake, right? Let me spend it back later?" HMPH, the system don't go over the face. Ignore him. Yuanjie was very speechless. The more Nima thought about it, the more he lost money. The contents of the great gift package bought by 200,000 gold spirit coins were not as rich as the rich value of the return gift package of 1 copper spirit coin. Just like in his previous life, he once thought that caviar was noble food, and he didn't dare to eat it without some family property, and finally found that it was only sold for more than 20 yuan on Pink's Eve. Yuanjie clicked into the Divine Skill Recruitment Mall, but he didn't expect that the dog system actually left himself the number of purchases, 30 days, that's 90 recruitment opportunities. Since the last synthesis of optional reincarnation I skill treasure chest, plus the 500 golden fragments sent by this return gift package, you can synthesize a chest again. In other words, he can learn 2 reincarnation I techniques this wave. Okay. Chapter 288. Yuanjie did not hesitate to choose to learn the Peach-style High Imperial Birth God Sun God, and the 1-style Young Name Biguna. These 2 skills are quite strong in actual combat, especially the Young Name Biguna, which can make the 9 tails burn life, indicating that the upper limit of this move is very high. In the end, he condensed 10,000 bottles of large cultivation experience potion into 1 bottle and drank it. Unconsciously, his aura actually climbed directly to the 3rd order of the celestial phenomenon realm. What's the situation? I can actually upgrade directly in the outside world? Yuanjie is stunned. Could it be that the laws of Heaven's Dao have been repaired? He closed his eyes and carefully sensed the flow of spiritual power in the air. It is indeed a little different. It seems that the shackles have been opened. However, 100,000 years have passed since the heavenly Dao was damaged, and it should be about the same. Yuanjie summoned the beast Dao to his side to check her strength. You can exert the strength of the top level of the celestial phenomenon realm, which is not bad. In other words, the cultivators of this world will most likely not be stuck in the Great Late realm, and can naturally upgrade to the phaseless realm. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? As soon as Jiang came over, she saw Yuanjie who was bathing, and she blushed shyly. Heaven, Lord Heavenly Dao? Yuanjie was a little embarrassed, because he was more familiar with Jiang as the first sixth-path puppet, so he habitually summoned Jiang over. Momentarily ignored that she was a girl. At the same time, he thought of a question. The six dolls all have an independent consciousness, so what will happen to their future lives? After working together for so long, Yuanjie has feelings for them, not like subordinates, but like partners. Just like this well-behaved little girl in front of her, she obviously has no bad intentions, but she is often pampered by Uncle Li Tiansha because she can't do well. The collective atmosphere of Paint 6 is really good. They often go out to drink and eat skewers together after work breaks, and talk freely about their life ideals. Uncle Li Tiansha's greatest dream in life is to have a lovely daughter again. But he knew that he couldn't do it now, so he would hold the beast Dao Jiang in the palm of his hand and accept her as a goddaughter. However, can they, who are imprisoned in the six puppets, really have their own future? Yuanjie fell into deep contemplation. Perhaps, in the future, he could completely resurrect them through the art of reincarnation. As for the new six puppet souls, there is no need to worry about this at all. When the time comes, he can specifically go to the enemy, forcefully lock them in the puppet, and wash their dirty souls. You go back, well, good Lord Tendo. Beast Wei turned and disappeared, not knowing how far she ran, before she touched her hot face. Although she couldn't see anything, it didn't stop her from thinking. Yuanjie got dressed. He opened the door, but found Zhu Mengan standing not far away, looking a little lonely in his back. The little white cat in the dream before did not stay in his heart for long, because he knew that it was all fake. In his previous life, how could he be a cat? If so, then why wouldn't he remember? Why does he remember his past life, but only forget his past life? It doesn't make sense. As for why the little white cat suddenly appeared in his previous life before he died, he couldn't figure it out even more. Because the picture he saw in his dream at that time was 30 years ago, when there were no high-rise buildings, the folk customs at that time were still very simple, and most people were riding Phoenix brand bicycles. You say a little white cat lived for 30 years? No kidding. He thought about it. Maybe it was his hallucination before he died, which could be explained. Yu Menghan heard the footsteps, turned around and smiled sweetly at him, and saluted. Has Shallow come back? She shook her head and regretted. There is no news yet. Yuanjie couldn't help frowning. It's been too long, right? It's been almost 2 months, and there is still no information. I don't know if it's life or death. Before he heard Li Tiansha's words, he was teleported out. He wondered, what was she talking about? No matter what she asked, Yuanjie would agree to her. Emperor Yuan, I found that after you woke up this time, something seemed different. Yu Menghan stared at his face and said. Yuanjie straightened his waist, winked at her and said, is it? You didn't notice that I'm stronger now. My cultivation is higher than all of you, and I have officially become a celestial phenomenon realm powerhouse. After that, he exuded a powerful aura that startled people. Lie down for a month to break through? So good? Yu Menghan was shocked. Then she calmed down, shook her head and said, no, I mean your eyes. What's wrong with my eyes? Yuanjie took out a mirror from the Shenwei space and looked at it. He suddenly found that the color of his right eye was no longer purple, but blue. But that blue, very strange, is like the coat color on the British short blue cat he dreamed of becoming. Isn't that a coincidence? So he asked, when did my eye color change? Yu Menghan thought carefully for a while and said, this color will be the time you wake up, broken. That means that he did not change color because he upgraded to the celestial realm. For the first time, he doubted the reality of that dream. By the way, I remember that you are 3 years older than me. Why are you not married? Yu Menghan sighed and said faintly, I'm waiting for someone. Wait for whom? Wait until he falls in love with me. She didn't dare to look him in the eye. Don't look at his face. Now Yuanjie was interested, and he also wanted to be a moon elder. Who do you like? Shall I help you get married? Yu Menghan felt in her heart, glanced at him, and shook her head helplessly. Forget it. Strong melons are not sweet. Yuanjie was a little angry for a while. Are Sharingan's rose goddess? She is good-looking and strong. Which son will actually not accept your affection? Isn't he a fool? Yu Meng'an was speechless for a while. Are you scolding yourself when you say this? Yuanjie used to think that she liked herself, but since Zionon brainwashed in his ear, saying that Yu Meng'an already has someone he likes, but it's not you, so don't be sentimental. After Chinese New Year's Eve, the two did not see each other for a long time, and even he thought too much. But did he ever like her? Maybe it's more appreciation, more curiosity about that rose tattoo. Once he had the urge to take the stamen in the center of the rose in his mouth. Ideas are often evil. At 7 o'clock the next morning, Yi Suking got up on time. And this morning she was going to go to the morning dynasty, every day. And when she opened her eyes, she saw the haunted man sitting on the edge of the bed with a smile. Zioji, she wanted to pat her face, she felt that she hadn't woken up yet. Yuanjie grabbed her hand and said softly, a few days ago, you worked hard. In the future, leave these things to me. The two warmed up for a while before Yi Suking got up. She got up to help him put on the dragon robe and tidy up his appearance, exactly the same scene as in his previous life. Do you want to go together? Yi Suking smiled and shook her head. She was only temporarily dragged up to replace her. Since he is back, then she can be a little woman in the harem at ease. In the main hall, the maid said loudly, Emperor Yuan has arrived. At this time, the civil and military officials had not yet paid attention to it, because when Yi Suking took the post before, he was also named Emperor Yuan. And at this moment, a man with a mighty posture strode onto the dragon throne. Everyone's eyes widened and they were stunned for a long time. They couldn't help but burst into tears, kneeling down in unison and trembling. Greetings to Emperor Yuan, the return of the king. Chapter 289. During the month when Yuanjie was in a coma, the Manchu dynasty Wenwu was worried all the time. They were afraid that a powerful dynasty had fallen ahead of schedule. In the days without Emperor Yuan, they seemed to have lost their backbone, and they were listless in everything they did. Finally, just today, they waited for the man's return. How do you keep them from tears in their eyes? Flatten. Shang Shuling Changsun Ming burst into tears, wiped it slightly, and he choked up. Emperor Yuan, when did you wake up? Last night, up 3 o'clock. The Manchu dynasty Wenwu wanted to ask what the Yuan emperor had gone through, but he did not dare to speak. Yuanjie smiled slightly, and the majestic momentum in his body flowed out a little, and everyone was shocked. This time of deep sleep, it is not without gains. I broke through, above the phase, the celestial realm. What's going on? How can it be that in the Yuan emperor, breaking through cultivation is like drinking water? It seems that he has only awakened his physique for less than a year, right? Yes, he is still a month to a year away from awakening his physique. Strong. Too strong. In less than a year, from the Heisei realm, he broke through the gradual convergence realm, the fusion realm, the great evening realm, the phaseless realm, and finally the celestial phenomenon realm. It's really unheard of, unseen achievements. Ordinary cultivators, F-level physiques, if they don't have cultivation resources, let alone a year, decades may not be able to reach the gradual convergence realm. Even if it is a genius, such as Wang Qing, double S and double element physique, is it powerful enough? Her family lineage is strong enough, right? The three major royal families, cultivation resources are not worried at all. Today's cultivation has just touched the threshold of the great evening realm. It is worthy of being the son of heaven, the son of destiny. There is a great luck. Yuanjie put away his momentum and regained that calm handsomeness. What's the big deal these days? Manchu Wenwu hesitated. You look at me, I look at yours. I don't know whether to say or not. But it doesn't hurt to say. Before Yuanjie came, he listened to Yi Suking tell her about all the decrees she issued when she was in charge. In fact, he felt that she did not have any problems with it, and it was very correct, but the means were slightly tougher. At this time, an imperial historian of the Huangfu family stood up and said, Emperor Kitao, the old minister has something to say. The minister sued the harem Yi Suking. In the days of your absence, he acted arbitrarily, caused chaos in the dynasty, and made a mess of the entire Sharingan. Yuanjie narrowed his eyes and said quietly, you continue. The first crime, when Yi Suking was in power, he ordered the people of the entire Sharingan dynasty to perform compulsory military service, which made the entire Sharingan people resentful. When the people are gone, who will cultivate the family's fields? The second sin, Yu Suking privately raised the status of businessman to the same level as she. This is a very confused practice. If everyone is a businessman, who will participate in politics in the future? Who will farm? Who will work? The 10th sin. In response to the issue of foreign heritage, Yu Suking's friendship with the head of the Yu family, resulting in the uneven distribution of the major families. This kind of biased move is really difficult to convince the public. Huang Fuqin enumerated Yu Suking's 10 deadly sins, and it seemed that he was prepared. Yuanjie was secretly amused. If Su Qing was present to listen, it was estimated that he would not be able to get out of this gate, and the family would be implicated. It's just that I'm a good person who is selfless, and I don't think so much about you. Are you finished? Yuanjie took a sip of the tea handed over by the maid and asked without raising his head. When the others saw it, they thought badly. Looking at this situation, Emperor Yuan was afraid that he would be angry. That's it. Huang Fuqin wiped his cold sweat and retreated. How could he not know that he had run into catastrophe? But for the sake of the family, he fought hard. Even if he erases his old life, he will not hesitate. The atmosphere was silent for 10 minutes. Yes, Emperor Yuan looked at them like this for 10 minutes, without saying a word, and everyone lowered their heads, afraid to look him directly in the eyes. Okay, I want to ask you a question. Yuanjie stood up from the dragon throne, and he walked down to the center of the Manchu dynasty. Did you invite Yu Suking to come out to help? Lu Yongyan saw that everyone did not dare to speak, and as Hongshu Ling, he could only stand up and reply, yes, I didn't let you answer. Yuanjie drank loudly, which shocked the body of the Manchu dynasty when woohoo. Huang Fuqin trembled so badly that he snapped and knelt down. Well, since she was invited out of the mountain by you, should you obey her orders? If you have an opinion, why bother people? You really think she wants to go on this muddy water? Yes? Huang Fuqin hurriedly kowtowed and begged for mercy. Emperor Yuan forgive sins, Emperor Yuan forgive sins, and Emperor Yuan forgive sins. Yuanjie walked over, squatted down and looked at him and said, what are you guilty of? Framing a member of the royal family, capital offense. It's not enough to die? You're laying a trap for me and making me a tyrant like Xiang Mufeng. Right, get up. Yuanjie turned around and returned to the dragon throne again. He continued to sip his tea and was silent for another 5 minutes. Not only will I not bring Yu Suking's guilt to me, but I think she has meritorious service in governing the country and wants to make her the future. Who is in favor and who is against? Which minister dares to object? Originally, Yu Suking was the ironclad empress, but the sister of Emperor Yuan appeared, and the eldest princess Xiaonan jumped out to stop the wedding. I don't think there's anything wrong with her policy, so be it. However, considering that the people have daily farming, priority is given to arranging the children of the family and the children of the eunuchs to serve in the military. Anyway, they have nothing to do, they are idle all day, and there is someone to take care of. You should know how to be grateful. How dare the ministers oppose at this time, and busily thank Lord Lanjin. As for the people, 100-year covenant, that is, for 100 years, only one person must and only need to perform military service, and the age must not exceed 40 years old. Yuanjie looked at Marshal Li. You must implement this matter. Did you hear it? Whoosh. Marshal Li was overjoyed in his heart, although the follow-up would be a little busy. But this was undoubtedly an important signal released by Emperor Yuan. Tian Yuan will be heavy on martial arts and light on literature. He was really fed up with the previous Dogecoin Emperor's policy of emphasizing civility over martial arts. It was really a planned, and the military attaché could not raise his head for a day in front of the civil officials. Yuanjie continued to arrange work to strengthen the elevation of the status of businessmen, and specially established a Ministry of Commerce, with Yu Mengan, the head of the Yu family, as the minister. This morning dynasty opened for a full 5 hours, and everyone still did not feel tired, except for Huang Fuqin. By the way, Emperor Yuan, what should be done with the foreign countries that have been subdued? Yuanjie frowned. He was a little displeased. Why did this group of people have to wait until he woke up to do this? If you wake up a few months later, won't the battle you fought before be in vain? He reprimanded. Prime Minister Liu, I want to correct your statement. First of all, it is not a foreign country, and it has now become the inherent territory of the Sharingan dynasty. As for the place where the original Flying Eagle country was, I named it Indon Province, the Great Bear country was Rakshasa Province, and the Black Duck country was Nifi Province. Shangshu Province and Hongshu Province cooperate with Marshal Li to establish a national government office in the local area as soon as possible. From now on, Those places will be united with Yuan and share the prosperity of Yuan. The book is the same text, the car is the same track, the degree is the same system, the line is the same coherent, and the land is the same domain. Chapter 290. The military attaché was puzzled what Emperor Yuan meant by what he had just said. But when they saw the civil servants looking excited, they also became excited. I don't understand it, but it sounds powerful, said Xiao. After receiving the order from Emperor Yuan, the Sharingan court began to get busy. First, there was the use of force to suppress the subjugated areas. Surprisingly, the place where the Flying Eagle country turned out to be the smoothest to enter. Probably because most of the slaves were there. Now that the slave owners are dead, they have regained their free identity and become a commoner. No one will look down on them anymore, but treat them as equals, not as animals. Not only did they not resist the slightest resistance to the entry of the Yuan army, but they celebrated each other. However, in Indoan province, the Sharingan court encountered a thorny problem. That is the fixed property left by the original slave owner, such as land, houses, and gold and silver treasures. These things, at the end of the war, because the Yuan soldiers could not stop it in time, had already been robbed at that time. Even if it is blocked, it may not be exhaustive, and it is equally useless. Zhongshu ordered Lu Yongnian to report this situation in the early dynasty the next day, and Yuanjie sneered. What's so hard about that? You go and set a reasonable standard, tell them that each person can only divide so much land, and whoever grabs more, let them fight for it themselves, and whoever occupies it after a month will be whom. When you fight, there will inevitably be life and death, isn't that good? In the end, there will be fewer points according to the head, and the rest will be owned by Sharingan. After Lu Yongnian listened, he couldn't help but give a thumbs up. This plan is very clever. People are greedy, and those who rob a lot at the beginning will surely become the target of everyone and be besieged by many people. Yuan could not care about the process of their fight, he only looked at the result. Most of them will fail, and only a small number will succeed. And that small number of people will become the first group of nobles in Indoan province. This is the only way to survive the fittest. Compared to the area of the Flying Eagle, the stationing of the Yuan soldiers of Big Bear and Black Duck is slightly trickier. There was strong resistance from the local natives. Yuanjie arranged for the powerhouse of the Phaseless realm to kill all those who resisted. What's so polite? I made it clear that I was aggression. What can you do? Don't struggle if you are sensible. Do you think that struggling will make you famous for eternity? The Federation is gone. Who will record your heroic deeds? As long as Yuan wants the earth, all the disobedient people are driven away. At the same time, Yuanjie issued a decree that in the territory of Sharingan, the people of the original Sharingan 36 prefectures would automatically be superior to others. That is to say, going out from the 36 states of Sharingan, they have a more noble status than the locals. Whether it is food, shelter, or even the law, it will be taken care of accordingly. After this decree is promulgated, people in other regions will naturally not accept it. You don't accept? Then don't stay in this world. If you have any words, go and talk to God. This iron-fisted policy was promulgated, allowing people all over the world to see Yuanjie's personality clearly. Many people are uncomfortable, but is it useful to be uncomfortable? Just because you're uncomfortable doesn't mean your child will be uncomfortable. Because, the Yuan Imperial Court has opened the school all over the world. The real occupation of a region is not based on the number of troops you have in your garrison, but on whether the people of that area genuinely accept your culture. Wanting to change culture is an important process of assimilating barbarians. Yuanjie's previous book with text policy is exactly this. He ordered that from today onwards, the Yuan provinces would use Yuan language as the mandatory language for daily communication, business transactions, and Jin officials and knights, and at the same time, the original language and script of each region would be abolished and the Yuan script would be uniformly used. The culture does not need to be so diverse, it can be used, and as for some waste, it is good to remove. The previously established schools, divided into adult supervisors and children's supervisors, stipulated how many class hours each person must complete per week, and the weekly homework must be turned in on time, otherwise the response will be sent to the field. As soon as this rule came out, they were stupid. Originally, I thought that I could fish in troubled waters, and if you let me learn, I wouldn't learn it, and I wouldn't learn it when I died. I'm XXX just dead outside, jump from here. I don't even want to learn the Yuan language. Unexpectedly, the Sharingan Imperial Court actually engaged in this play, and it was impossible to prevent it. If you don't study, the field will be gone. To study, it seems to be sorry for the ancestors and ancestors. Go ahead, you must not forget that God is in my heart. An old man with complicated eyes stroking a book in his arms, which was engraved with their native language, sighed. They would never have imagined that a year later, the Tianyuan Imperial Court would search every house and burn all the books that were not in the language of Tianyuan, and there would be no dregs left. Then all the local learned Confucianists, or those who have passed on traditional crafts, are arrested and buried en masse. That's right, Yuanjie is to destroy your cultural differences, and since you are already a Tianyuan people, you must form values consistent with Tianyuan's behavior. Later, there were historical records that the first emperor of Sharingan was cruel and unscrupulous, burning books and pit Confucianism, and miserable humanity. Of course, the latter story has its own descendants who say that in this era, none of the civil and military officials thought that the Yuan emperor was wrong. Since that group of people is not mine, let's try to integrate them. Although the methods were very violent at the beginning, the predecessors planted trees and the later people took advantage of the cold, believing that in 1,000 years, or even 10,000 years later, future generations will remember our good and understand us. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, a year passed. Every official member of the Sharingan Imperial Court who went out was full of energy, wanting to add a heavy stroke to this torrent of history. The implementation of the Xiangsha plan went very smoothly, and within a year, in half a year, many people outside the territory of the original Sharingan dynasty almost forgot what language they spoke before. Previously, the Tianyuan Imperial Court specially arranged a group of personnel from special departments to eavesdrop on whether everyone in each household was quietly communicating in another language. If there is, warn once, repeat defense, warn a second time. The third time I don't talk nonsense to you, just arrest you into the word hell and step on the sewing machine well. That group of people dares to be angry and dare not speak. What can be done? The Sharingan dynasty is so domineering, even more outrageous than the original Celestial Empire. In the past, the Celestial Empire was a cultural fusion, while the Sharingan dynasty was directly erased without leaving a trace. The Tianyuan dynasty is not afraid that you will resist at all, and a strong fist is the truth. During this year, Yuanjie would always go out for 2 circles when he had time, and he heard a lot of cursing words. He smiled slightly, and it was lost. I don't need you to understand me, I just want to do what I want to do. As for you saying that Yuan will definitely not be able to survive the second generation, then I'm sorry. With me, Sharingan will surely prosper for thousands of generations. And I, Yuanjie, am building a solid foundation for this majestic palace. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 291. A year has passed, and there is no news yet. Yuanjie took a sip of wine and looked at the planetary rings in the sky. Yi Suking patted the back of his hand and comforted, "Don't worry too much, Shallow is a good person, she will definitely be fine." Alice, Yuanjie sighed, he hadn't seen her in more than a year and missed her very much. But what's the use of knowing where the entrance is? He couldn't enter that secret realm again. Yi Suking was equally guilty, and the longer the time dragged on, the more uneasy she became. She believes that Li Tiansha's departure must be inextricably linked with her. And now that the other party's life and death are uncertain, she looks at Yuanjie's uncomfortable look, and she is also very sad. She blamed herself every day. Why did she fight in the first place? If she had been generous, maybe now, there wouldn't be so many accidents. With each page of the calendar being torn off, her mood became more and more uncomfortable. She often thinks of the sensible little girl, and every time she makes a mistake, she always keeps her head down. After saying that she had a meal, the magic thing was that she really wouldn't do it again. Except for that thing. Every time, it was Li Tiansha who was letting her, the big sister, except for Yuanjie. Yi Suking sometimes thinks differently. If she is Yuanjie or Li Tiansha, she will also be in love for a long time, right? People are not grass and trees, who can be ruthless? In the 10 years that she has lived together in this family, she sincerely treats Li Tiansha as a sister. Although it's not that kind of sister, It's this kind of sister, but it seems acceptable. At this time, Yu Menghan knocked on the door and walked in. She was carrying 2 large bags full of delicacies from all over the world. Oh, Emperor Yuan is also there? Let's eat together. She smiled sweetly. Yuanjie stood up and took 2 large bags, which were heavy enough. Yu Menghan wiped the sweat on his forehead, and a wisp of floral fragrance entered his nostrils. This woman's physique is really strange. Could it be the reincarnation of concubine Xiang? Yu Menghan really made it sweaty, even if every drop of sweat dripping from her body, if collected, it can even be sold as a perfume. That kind of fragrance, not very rich and choking fragrance, Yuanjie doesn't know how to describe it. Anyway, it is very comfortable after smelling. Yu Menghan arranged the fruit, and then cast a spell, only to see her grab a cloud of air, and then gracefully squeezed her fingers, gently sprinkled, and the air actually turned into water droplets? I blanch, what kind of trick is this? Doesn't she only turn everything into roses? Seeing Yuanjie's doubts, she smiled faintly and said, this is a newly learned skill that I have been promoted to the celestial phenomenon realm. I also learned that my physique is the body of the 5 elements, which can control and transform everything into the 5 elements. Now that I have only awakened the Mizuki element, I should gradually learn it as my cultivation improves. After mastering the power of the water element, Yu Menghan truly has a powerful killing move. The water that conjures up from her hands is both a tonic and a poison. Awesome. Yuanjie silently gave her a thumbs up in his heart. Now the people around him, except for Xiaonan, have not been promoted to the celestial phenomenon realm, and Yi Suking has stepped into this realm 1 step ahead of her. And Yuanjie's cultivation speed has always been far ahead, and now he is the 7th order of the celestial phenomenon realm, and I believe that with daily sweeps and sleeping with immortal arts at night, he will be able to reach the returning to the mortal realm in another 2 months. To his surprise, Yi Suking's cultivation speed was not much slower than him at all. If he didn't have the cultivation experience potion sent by the system, he would even be slower than her. The woman next to him, a person's physique is perverted. He couldn't help but think of Li Tiansha. He thought that her physique was definitely not simple, but he didn't know how strong it was. In the celestial phenomenon realm, Yi Suking has learned a new skill, and she can summon the elf queen from the ancient world. When she tried to use this trick, Susu burst into tears. Because the elf queen is her mother. Unfortunately, the summoner is self-aware, and the elf queen cannot hear her daughter's call. With the breaking of the shackles of heaven and earth, more and more young people in the Yuan dynasty were promoted to the phaseless realm. Up to now, the Sharingan dynasty has more than 2,000 phaseless realm powerhouses, which is an unknown number of times more than the 36 a year ago. But the problem ensued, and the results of this year's awakening physique were very unsatisfactory, and could even be described as bad. The huge Sharingan dynasty, this year, only 3 SS-level geniuses appeared. In Yuanjie's session, there were at least 2,000 SS-level geniuses awakened in the country. 100 billion people only gave birth to 3 SS-level geniuses? This data is really shocking. You know, the land of projectiles Winshao region, this year there are also 5 SS-level geniuses. Emperor Yuan, I guess, it should be related to Xiang Maofeng's forcible destruction of the Dragon Vein in the first place, Yuanjie muttered. Dragon Vein, at that time, after the incident, he found a large number of Feng Shui grandmasters to repair the Dragon Vein. He thought it would be fine. As a result, things turned out to be far more serious than he had imagined. I don't know how many more years this effect will last. Dogecoin conspiracy peak. Not shallow. Let him die too easily. Marshal Li scolded fiercely. If it weren't for the fact that there were no corpses in Xiangmufen, he would have wanted to dig up the grave and whip the corpse. Everyone in the court was indignant. Is this despicable thing of exhaustion and fishing something that people can do? There are fewer and fewer geniuses who awaken high-level physiques, and although the consequences cannot be seen in a short time, in the long run, Tianyuan's combat power will plummet. Is there any way to solve it? Yuanjie frowned and thought. He suddenly remembered the drop of immortal blood he found in the K family. Later, the immortal blood was used by him to summon Yuanshan. Immortal blood, his eyes were rolling rapidly, and he suddenly thought of a good way. Yes. In ancient times, didn't geniuses be cultivated by the blood of immortals? Later, he asked his grandfather that the so-called immortal blood was actually the blood on the SSS-level physique. Through the secret method, The formation can be forcibly urged, so that the young children in an area can greatly increase the probability of awakening high physique in the future. But just improving the probability does not necessarily awaken the SSS-level physique. Awakening to SSS-level physique, only one condition can be met. That's reproduction. The bloodline inheritance is engraved in the bones, and no matter how many generations have passed, there is a great chance of giving birth to a child with an SSS-level physique. Yuanjie himself is an example. His parents are just mortals, but he is an SSS-level physique. This shows that generational inheritance is feasible. Does that mean? If I have children with Yisuking, and both of us are SSS-level physiques, there will be a high probability of giving birth to geniuses? Yuanjie went back to ask his grandfather. Yuanjie nodded after thinking for a while and said, not a high probability, but 100%. What? Yuanjie was stunned. Yuanjie replied lightly, the reason why your father was a mortal physique in the first place was because your grandmother was originally a mortal too. It's just that later, through the Yuan family secret method, she awakened her SS-level ability. And my brother Yuanjie, his eldest lady, is the eldest daughter of the Z family genius, an SSS-level genius, and the two of them have a total of 3 descendants. All of them are SSS-level anti-heavenly physiques. How? Are you impressed? You know, there are 4 SSS-level physique women around you, Yisuking, Yumenhan, Yuanjie, and Susu. There is also a woman who is estimated to be far beyond the SSS-level physique. Chapter 292. Poof. Yuanjie took a sip of tea. He quickly shook his head and said, Zionan, just forget it. I have no feelings for her. She and me, we are a normal brother and sister relationship, and besides, I am related to her. Yuanjie smiled faintly. Indeed. He had long seen that Grandma Nan didn't actually have that kind of mind about this wonderful grandson, but as a sister, she wanted to monopolize his brother's love and was unwilling to let other women take away. The two of them are absolutely impossible to come together. Even together, he fought hard to stop it. Because, he heard that there was a horrific legend. It is the combination of 2 blood-related SSS-level physiques that will give birth to a world-destroying demon. Therefore, in ancient times, the Yuan god issued an iron decree from then on, strictly prohibiting intermarriage within the clan. For hundreds of thousands of years, they have been at peace with each other, and they have not heard of any clan stealing forbidden fruits from each other. There was once a pair of brothers and sisters who had that seed, and then when the woman was pregnant, they were given death by Genshin. But one thing he couldn't figure out was why he had heard that other races, such as elves, beasts, etc., were all close relatives for the sake of pure blood, but he had never heard of anything bad. Even, their descendants are stronger than the other. The most special is the elven race, which has only one leader, that is, the elf queen. It is no exaggeration to say that the entire elven race is the descendant of the elf queen, because she alone has the right to reproduce. How did that generation come about? I blanched. Yuanjie couldn't help shaking his body, and goosebumps rose. Which normal person can accept this kind of thing? He couldn't help but look at Susu, who was watering flowers next door. Fortunately, this girl was sealed in childhood, and if nothing else, she was the next elf queen after her mother. If she knew the truth, she would absolutely collapse. Yuanjie looked at his grandfather strangely, not knowing why his expression was suddenly so rich. One moment of remembrance, one moment of shock, one moment of fear, one moment of weakness. Yuanjie saw the other party looking over, and he asked with a grin, how, do you have any ideas? What thoughts? At present, there are only 2 partners you have identified, Yisuking and Li Tiansha. Have you ever thought of adding a few more? Or, you see that the genius of today's Yuan awakening is so unbearable, have you ever thought about letting the women of the world feel the mighty grace of the emperor? Yuanjie frowned. He is not that kind of person. Emotional things, how can he be child's play? Could it be that he should become a ruthless rice-planting machine? He would never accept this. It's true that you are the emperor, but this kind of thing should not be done by yourself. As the saying goes, everyone has their own destiny, and how your life will be lived has already been arranged. Seeing that Yuanjie left angrily without saying a word, Yuanjie reminded loudly in the back, by the way, the higher the physique, the more difficult it is to get pregnant. I think you can prepare in advance. Yuanjie paused and slowly replied, got it. Yuanjie did not tell Yisuking about this, otherwise she should be in a hurry. He knew that the most regrettable thing in her 2 lives was not being able to bear children for him. In her previous life, she wanted it almost every day, just to achieve her ambitious goals. It's a pity that the creation of people, two people have worked hard for a long time, but they still can't get it. She also secretly went to the hospital for checkups, and the doctor said there was no problem with her body. Later, she pestered Yuanjie to check it out, and the doctor said that he had no problem. Persuasion, the time will come, but the time has not come. Previously, Yuanjie did not understand the meaning of the time not coming, but now he knows. He and Yi Suking's children are not on that life, but should be in this life. Another year passed. Everything is fine with Yuan, but Li Tiansha still has no news. Yuanjie, Yi Suking, Yu Menghan, Xianan, Su Su and others were promoted to the returning realm, and their strength reached a huge increase. For geniuses with a high-level physique, the higher the cultivation level, the advantages will be reflected. Because the spiritual power pool has been fixed in size, the spiritual power required for each level up in the future is similar. The problem is that people with low-level physiques will have much more difficulty than geniuses with high-level physiques when they break through the great realm. They are not like Yuanjie, and once the spiritual power pool is full, it will naturally upgrade. They are not. When they break through, there is a tough barrier. It must be broken. However, there is a frustrating thing. The talent gain of the Yuan dynasty this year is actually zero. There is not a single genius who awakened an SS-level physique. Even, there are less than 100 people who have awakened an S-grade physique. You know, the Sharingan dynasty has a population of hundreds of billions, and this probability is too low, right? It's outrageous. Unexpectedly, Zhang Maofeng's original behavior actually left such a deep trauma on the people of this land. In the court, no one from the Manchu dynasty spoke up. In their hearts, everyone has insulted that Dogecoin conspiracy peak 1,000 times. Moreover, the world is not very peaceful today. Isn't it an overnight thing? There are countless dark tides. When the reactionaries in other places heard that Yuan had failed to harvest grains for 2 consecutive years, they were excited. They feel that after 100 years, it will be the day of the anti-Yuan eagle bear duck. During this time, they hid in the shadows and lurked, so that the forces of the Yuan dynasty could not be found at all. Shang Shuling Changsenming let out a long sigh. Emperor Yuan, if this continues, Sharingan's powerful status will not be guaranteed. Yuanjie raised his head and asked, do you have any good solutions? No. Yuanjie had asked his grandfather before, asking him if he knew how to use immortal blood. As a result, the little old man was unreliable, saying that he was not clear. Don't ask, you can build it yourself. Yuanjie gritted his teeth. How could he not know what he thought? In order to open branches and leaves for the Yuan family, Yuanjie can also be regarded as painstaking. But Yuanjie, this elm head, does not eat this set, and he is very disgusted with this behavior. So, he found a knife, cut his palm, and a drop of red blood flowed down the bowl. Yuanjie quickly ran over to stop him. You must not do this. You know, if you give them blood like this, you are not helping them, but harming them, ordinary mortals. Once they drink the blood of immortals, their bloodlines cannot support it, and they will explode and die. Yuanjie didn't believe it, and he brought a dog to experiment. Sure enough, after licking it, the dog immediately turned red, shrunk into the corner and covered his stomach uncomfortably, and after a while, it exploded into slag. Yuanjie sighed. He explained, humans are the most noble creatures, other races simply cannot and dare not drink blood directly. Even the powerful beast races millions of years ago also respect the human race. Except, of course, a certain alien race. Which race? Vampire. Also known as the Blood Clan, their clan are all women of the country with natural colors, feeding on human blood, and absorbing high physical human blood through intersection to strengthen their own abilities. Yuanjie asked curiously, is that Blood Clan still there now? Yuanjie shook his head and said, I don't know, they disappeared late, and I was still active in the world before I died. Then, he specially instructed, I must remind you that you must not let the Blood Clan be contaminated with your essence blood, otherwise the consequences will be unimaginable. Grandpa, carefully explain the characteristics of the Blood Clan. Let me take precautions. Yuanjie took out a book and flipped through it carefully, and Yuanjie couldn't help but tug at the corners of his mouth after seeing it. This grandfather seems to be a little unreliable. Chapter 293. The Wang family, after the development of recent years, fatally shows signs of decline. On average with the Yu family and the Huangfu family, They are indeed the three major families. However, the Wang family is the weakest of the three major families. Although the war in previous years and the recovery after the war, logistics and transportation have made a lot of money. But compared to the other two, it is really chilling. Emperor Yuan set up a Ministry of Commerce specifically for the Yu family, and the huge capital invested in the early years was earned back in just 1 year, and the profit was doubled later. And the Huangfu family also climbed on the big ship of the Ministry of Culture of the new department, and they arranged for many clansmen to build schools around the world and harvest fame and fortune. Only the royal family, nothing. Wang Badian also can't count on Queen Sun Qiang, this money-losing goods. Let her take the initiative to contact Emperor Yuan, but she is bored at home all day, and her heart is very proud. It's true that you are the proud daughter of heaven, but compared with Yi Suking and Yu Menghan, you are a piece of... I don't know what you're crazy about. Wang Badian scolded fiercely. Wang Qiang just clenched her fists and remained silent. She wanted to cry, but the tears had long since flowed. In the past 2 years, she has been very aggrieved, not that she does not want to, but that there is no chance at all. Do you think the palace is so easy to get into? Do you think you can see him casually if nothing happens? He is an emperor. It's not that you can see it with a family ancestor. The defeat of the Wang family is all because of you. But if you fight a little, you will not end up in the current situation. The more Wang Badian spoke, the more angry he became, and he slammed a teacup in his hand towards Wang Qiang. Wang Qiang was sturdy, she said with red eyes. Lao Zhu, a huge family, bet all the bets on a woman, trying to make her sell her beauty in exchange for strength. Don't you think it's ridiculous to do this? You still dare to talk back? Wang Badian rushed over, raised his hand and slapped it over. She spoke about his sore spot. To say that now that the Wang family is in decline, he accounts for 80% of the responsibility. It was he who had no vision and took the initiative to surrender when Yuanjie fell. It was he who had no vision and contributed when Yuanjie was strong. It was he who had no vision and made a contribution when Yuan started the war. He even regretted that if when the first national joint examination was held, their royal family did not reduce the price, but free pickup, would the result be different? At that time, the Wang family had a great business, and in order to show their face in front of Emperor Yuan, even if they were free to pick up, it didn't take much money, not even less than 1% of the Wang family's property. However, the consistent interests of businessmen made him ruthless. So much so that when he was in the war later, he bargained with the Sharingan imperial court and did not give up, for fear that he would lose his costs. You said that with such a performance, will the imperial court be able to look at the royal family? Will they be taken care of when the loot is divided after the war? Don't you look at the Yu family and the Huangfu family? How much did the people contribute in wartime? The Yu family alone provided free clothes and daily necessities for 1 billion soldiers, worth as much as 10 billion gold spirit coins. The Huangfu family even provided all the weapons for free, and if they were not enough, they would not charge a penny. Look at your royal family again. Let you deliver some supplies and just twitter up there. In order to support the Yuan war, people and small families have donated money and materials to help people, so you are not sensible. Part of you is friendship, regardless of your duty. Don't take yourself too seriously. However, Wang Badian would not admit his mistakes at all, and in order to maintain a perfect image in the family, he pushed all his faults to Wang Qiang. Wang Qiang's parents are also nests. As the head of the family, they have always lived like a puppet, and there is no real power at all. To sum up, the decline of the Wang family is basically all caused by Wang Badian's decision-making errors. Then, the whole clan thought that the emperor could turn over by relying on a woman's lust, which was ridiculous. Wang Qiang's words were so angry that Wang Badian trembled. There were more and more onlookers, and the problem was that everything she said was the truth. Wang Badian couldn't pull his face to face the junior, so he shouted, "You get out!" Just when my Wang Badian has never had your granddaughter since then. Wang Qiang was stunned. "Grandpa, are you trying to expel me from the family? How else? What good is it for the family to keep you a waste?" Wang Qiang bit her lip and wiped her tears. She raised her chin and said lightly, "Good, good, good. At this point, my Wang Qiang will not be the Wang family from now on. It has nothing to do with the Wang family." She picked up a knife and cut off half of the blue silk, slammed it on the ground, and stepped on 2 feet. When Wang Qiang's father saw this scene, he rushed over angrily and wanted to slap it. Unexpectedly, the good girl who has never resisted stood up in front of her to block her father's attack. "If you can treat your father as domineering as I domineering, The Wang family will not come to this day. Bang! The ice hand exploded, and she soared into the sky, spilling 2 clear tears in the air. Wang King ran away from home. The Wang family did not make a big show, just as if there was no such Xianjiao in the family. Anyway, Wang King's sense of existence is quite low. When she studied at Zhenshi Academy, she originally thought that she was the most genius person besides Yuanjie, but she didn't expect to be slapped by reality. At school, there are several more powerful than her. With her posture, she can't even evaluate the kernel flower. The school flower is Huang Fuanren, who has been winning the school flower for 3 consecutive years, and even if he graduates, he is still respected as the first school flower. You want force without force, talent without talent, and posture without posture. She often thinks to herself, Yuanjie is blind to see her, what kind of oak is she? However, she just couldn't suppress her liking for him. It rained heavily in the sky, thunder roared, and lightning that cut through the sky, turning the night into day. Wang King didn't know how long she flew, she didn't know where she flew, she was tired, she landed and casually found a cave to rest. Huh? How can there be a broken prohibition here? Wang King frowned. She did not impulsively open it forcefully, but chose another cave. As she flew into the cave, swarms of bats passed by her ears. The smell of blood here made her very uncomfortable. However, she is already a homeless child, where to live is not the same. She then fell asleep against the wall. Deep in the cave, groups of sleeping beauties hanging upside down are slowly waking up. Count, the aroma of human blood. A woman with a stunning appearance and an extremely perfect body spoke, but her voice was a male voice. Ah, the breath of heaven and earth is stirring things up. She closed her eyes and sucked greedily. For many years, this wilderness is no longer uninhabited. Now, the Blood Clan has an introduction, and it has finally been awakened and reappeared. The Blood Clan began to sleep 80,000 years ago, and in order to prevent being discovered by the Nemesis werewolves, they found a very remote place to lurk. And there is only one way to wake them up, and that is for someone to pass through and enter this cave and become a blood guide. It's like a shark smelling blood and coming in a gushing way. Wang King didn't know that she had accidentally awakened a terrifying race. Chapter 294. Tonight, Wang King slept soundly and sweetly, the most peaceful night she had slept in so long. Ying, wake up, the rising sun. A ray of light shone in from outside the cave. Wang King opened his eyes in confusion, but saw Yuanjie squatting in front of him. She was stunned, because his eyes were really gentle. Let's go home. Yuanjie raised a kind smile, and he slowly stretched out his hand. Wang King lowered her head with a bleak look in her eyes and said, Go home? I don't have a home anymore. How can there be no home? My home is your home. Wang King suddenly raised her head and looked at him stunnedly. Our home. Yuanjie hugged her, took her into his arms, and said softly, Actually, I have never told you that I have been deeply in love with you since the first time I met you. You are everyone's beauty, your intellectual gentleness, your understanding, and the time we once walked together, all imprinted in my heart and will not be forgotten for a long time. Wang Qing's eyes flickered, and she couldn't help crying. She had waited too long for this day. She was originally a shy girl who was not good at words and expressions, although she liked him very much, but she was a girl, how could she say this kind of thing? Therefore, she missed many opportunities to confess and passed him countless times. Every time she came home, her grandfather and parents would always ask her with concern how far the two had developed. But who can feel the bitterness in her heart? Wang Qing knew that she and he were not people from two worlds from the beginning. Once upon a time, she was a family Xianjiao, and he was just an orphan in the mortal world. Later, he was the king of a country, and she was just a family Xianjiao. The identity gap between the two people has not changed since the beginning, but the position has been reversed. However, ever since he had controlled her with illusion, it had left an indelible mark on her girlish heart. The first test of spiritual power, she teamed up with him to enter the secret forest to brush monsters, which was the best and happiest time she had ever had in her life. I wish time could go slower. But time, like him, walked in a hurry, looking back on desolation. I don't know when he left her far behind. It's not just the gap in cultivation, but also her person. Her misses with him, to a large extent, can be related to the silence of the Wang family and watching the play. At the beginning, Yuanjie was at the gate of Jianghu 3rd Middle School, facing the Jin family's attack, The powerful Wang family obviously had the opportunity to help him, but chose to stand idly by. Later, the K family and the Jiang city lord jointly besieged Yuanjie, but the Wang family still did not stand up and chose to be silent. Later, when Yuanjie destroyed the small family in Jingcheng, he also thought of the Wang family for the first time and chose to cooperate with the Wang family. But what did the Wang family do? Between them and Yuanjie, it is more like trading, giving money to do things, and the attitude of the Yu family is not comparable. Others reigned in the house, served tea and poured water, intimately prepared snacks, and even took the initiative to help clean up the battlefield. At that time, in order to avoid suspicion, the Wang family chose to be indifferent, paying with one hand and delivering with the other, and saying more would count them as losing. In fact, the Wang family has an advantage over any family, and the Wang family is one of the first families to know Yuanjie, and it is also the first family to leave a good impression on Yuanjie. But because of the indecision of Wang Badian, the ruler of the Wang family, all good prospects were buried. So much so that it was rubbed by the Yu family and the Huangfu family who came later. Wang Badian often sighed at home, scolding the other two for not paying attention to benevolence and morality, and not licking dogs with their faces. But he never thought about why Yuanjie didn't have much affection for them. Is this because they have done less than the Yu family Huangfu family? No, it's an overnight relationship. Therefore, Wang Badian's fantasy that Queen Sun King can become the favorite concubine of the Yuan Emperor is simply nonsense. Objectively speaking, if Yuanjie is really that kind of a stringent person, he would rather marry the daughters of the Yu family and the Huangfu family than touch your Wang family. If Wang King had been a little braver and braver, he would have stood up at the gate of the third middle school and stood in front of Yuanjie to resist the attack of the Jin family for him, instead of pleading bitterly on the side. Will the Wang family watch the family genius Wang King in danger? Of course not. If you do this, will you be able to brush a wave of favorability in his heart? Could it be possible to avoid the danger of him being chased and killed by the Emperor Fu Emperor and dying 9 times for the rest of his life? It is a pity that there are no regret pills in the world. Happiness is not something that comes by waiting, but by oneself. Wang King often regrets it. Why wasn't she brave in the first place? Why are you so cowardly? Why listen to your family? No. None at all. Never. She said she loved him, but she didn't really do a thing for him. She is the most hypocritical person in this world. Yuanjie's sudden affectionate confession was a scene she dreamed of. Brother Ji, am I dreaming? No, you are not dreaming. Everything is real. As soon as the words fell, Yuanjie's handsome face gradually approached her, warming her already frozen heart with a warmth on her lips. Whoosh! Wang King was dumbfounded, her eyes widened and she looked at him in disbelief. She doubted that this was really a dream. But would there be such a realistic kiss in a dream? Probably not, right? Because she never dared to have such dreams, she was afraid that when she woke up, she would find that they were all fake. Go, follow me back to Beijing. For a long time, lips parted, Yuanjie pulled her up, his eyes full of tenderness and honey. When I go back, I will tell the world that I will marry the daughter of the Wang family, Wang King cried, and she covered her mouth with tears on her face. She didn't know how to describe her mood at the moment. Is it excitement? Is it happiness? Is it sweet? Or is it a wish come true? Maybe all of them, only she knows. Yuanjie saw her crying, gently helped her wipe away her tears, and kissed her lightly on the face. In this life, I promise you that you will not marry. You shouldn't be trying to make fun of me on purpose to coax me back, right? How is that possible? Yuanjie told her the answer again with actions. Do you believe it now? Wang King shook her head. I still feel that all this is not real, as if I am dreaming. Then she broke into a smile, raised her chin and kissed back affectionately. Even if it's a dream, please don't let me wake up, okay? Yuanjie touched her head spoiledly. The next day, Emperor Yuan announced that a week later he would marry the daughter of the Wang family. Wang King is a noble concubine. The Wang family licked their faces again and came back to recognize their kisses, making her take a bad breath. At the wedding, she proudly looked at Yu Menghan, as well as Yasuking and Li Tiansha, as if she was saying in her eyes, "Look, I'm Brother Ji's first woman. You can't compare to me." Ha ha ha! Seeing their deflated appearance, Wang King is really happy. Ceremony, cave room flower candle night. Emperor, please have mercy on me. Well, time passed quickly, and in the second year, Wang Qingshan gave birth to a prince with a very good physique and an SSS-level genius, and she named it Yuanjie. She also relied on her son to become the empress. Zimo, run slowly, my mother can't keep up with you. And just when she thought that everything good would not end, an accident happened. Chapter 295. Wang Qing suddenly found that her son Yuanjie's face was replaced by a blonde. "You, who are you?" She woke up instantly, looked around, and was stunned. It turns out that everything is fake. Everything is fake. He didn't like me at all, he really didn't like me. But she still did not die, frantically looking for her son's figure in the cave, and his figure. But I couldn't find it. She passed a puddle and found that she still had the same 22-year-old green face. She is neither a wife nor a mother, she is still the Wang Qing who no one hurts, no one loves, and no one wants. Nope, she knelt down and scratched the ground frantically until her hands were bloody. Why? Why punish me like that? Why did it give me beauty and destroy hope? She stood up angrily and glared angrily at the grinning blonde on the side. "It's you." She made a magic seal, a nice gun in her hand. She pointed directly at the blonde. "It's you, right?" The blonde smiled strangely, her eyes glowing red. "Dream, is it beautiful?" As soon as these words came out, everything that happened in the dream reappeared in Wang Qing's mind. When she knew that it was all fake, all illusion, and watched it in the third person again, everything became so cruel and pathetic. The ice spear in her hand fell to the ground and knelt down straight. She cried as she crawled towards the blonde. She hugged her legs and hissed, "Please, please let me go back, please let me live in my dream forever." She really wanted to go back, that was the future she was most looking forward to. The most painful thing in life is waking up from a dream and having nowhere to go. Wang Qing kept kowtowing, and she couldn't care about the mess in the cave. At this moment, she does not have the slightest reserve, some of them, just a humble appearance. The blonde wore black silk legs and gently lifted Wang Qing's chin. "Gee, what a lovely woman. Why are you trapped by love? Do you know what you look like now? Really pitiful, living like a dog. You know it's fake, but you're still addicted, you're committing a slut." The blonde's face became fierce, and she grabbed Wang Qing's collar and slapped her face with a palm. "Wake up. It's all fake in dreams. Only reality is real." Wang Qing's tears flowed again, and she cried helplessly, "Why? Since it's a fake, then why are you showing it to me?" Who can understand the despair that originally thought that his dream came true, but did not expect to realize in the end, it turned out to be a dream of Wang Liang. The blonde threw her on the ground in disgust, stood up and turned her back to her and said, "I originally wanted to help you, but seeing you so humble, I didn't want to help." Wang Qing suddenly raised her beautiful face with pear blossoms and rain. She quickly crawled over, hugged the other party's thigh and begged, "Don't, please help me, whatever you want me to do, I will. Your physique is so rubbish, I can't look at it." Wang Qing lowered her head and cried silently. The blonde squatted down, changed her voice, and said seductively, "However, I have a way to make you stronger in an instant, and also make you more beautiful and more feminine." Wang Qing calmed down, and she said in a deep voice, "Is there any price to pay? If I want to hurt Yuanjie, I'd rather die than promise you." No, there is no cost, you just need to close your eyes and get a gentle bite from me." The blonde licked her lips. "Then, you can be his princess smoothly, and your dream will come true, ho ho ho." Wang Qing still retained a trace of sanity, and she shook her head and refused. In the next second, she was kicked away by the blonde. "You are not even as good as a dog. The dog knows to find food when it is hungry. What about you? What else will you have except sighs and complaints? Do you think you can gain his mercy by looking like this? Do you think that if you are so cowardly, you will wait for happiness? All the beauty in the world is won by yourself. If you continue to be so decadent, your family will look down on you. Friends look down on you. Even the people you like won't look at you more." The blonde's words instantly woke up Wang Qing. That's right, in the past, it was because of her hesitation that she missed a lot. But the past is finally gone, and there is no way to redeem it. And in front of her, there is an opportunity in front of her, making her stronger and making her more attractive. Wang Qing hesitated. The blonde observed the change in her expression and thought that there was a play. She grabbed the other's shoulders tightly, looked into the other's eyes and shouted, "Tell me, do you love him or not?" This sentence made Wang Qing instantly break the defense. How dare she say that she loves him? She didn't come forward when he was suffering, how could she deserve it? Your strength is low now, if you are together, You will be a burden to him. It's his tow oil bottle. He worries about your safety all the time. Do you think you will be happy? In case he encounters some danger and encounters an enemy that cannot be defeated, you can only hide behind him and watch him silently die for you. Are you willing? Would you like to? Do you want to see? Haven't you thought about protecting him with your own strength? Protect your beloved? Wang Qing's eyes began to become dull. She had never thought about this problem. In her heart, Yuanjie's achievements are high. In this world, who can threaten him? But what if one day? What is the use of this waste yourself, except to cause him trouble? She really wanted to do something for him, even if it was a little bit better, even if it was death. She was not afraid. Okay, I promise you, Wang Qing said with a blank look in his eyes. However, you must swear that you will not hurt him. The blonde smiled. Of course they wouldn't hurt a man. They had never been embarrassed by women. After negotiating the terms, the blonde showed two fangs and bit Wang Qing's neck fiercely. Wang Qing was trembling. She was experiencing unbearable pain. However, when the pain is lost, it brings endless comfort. She transformed. She became a vampire, the oldest race of Langsing, a slave of the blood. The cultivation on her body continued to climb, and in a blink of an eye, she upgraded to the true transformation realm. At the same time, her physique is also undergoing drastic changes. She is no longer an SS-level physique, but has become an SSS-level physique as good as him. Along with it comes even more stunning beauty. How? I didn't lie to you, did I? The blonde licked the remaining blood from the corner of her mouth and chuckled. Next, it's your turn to take revenge. Go, you are now the top powerhouse in this world. What ancestor? What royal family? It's Orphaned. How dare they look down on you? They persecuted you. They deserve to die. The blonde whispered in Wang Qing's ear. Wang Qing narrowed her eyes. She touched the wound on her neck, licked the blood on her hand, and her smile was a little strange. Now, I should be qualified to stand by his side, right? Ha 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 ha, Brother G, you are my man. Whether in reality or in a dream, you belong to me. No one can snatch you from me. Chapter 296. After Wang Qing flew away, the blonde stood at the door of the cave and smiled meaningfully. How is it going? In the cave, a woman who looked like a man asked in a man's magnetic voice. Go back to the count, go according to plan. The blonde's eyes lit up. She couldn't suppress her excited look and continued, unexpected harvest. Blood citation is actually a Yuanjie with SS-level physique, and it has dual element enhancement on his body. She twisted out the magic seal, and a piece of ice and fire appeared in her hand. Moreover, by reading her memory, her AI Lang is actually a unique SSS-level physique. What? The woman who looked like a great man suddenly stood up, and she asked again in disbelief. The blonde nodded and replied, that's right, it's indeed an SSS-level physique, and it's the eyes that are strengthened. Alice, why do you strengthen your eyes? The woman sighed faintly. However, since it is a top-level physique, no matter which part, it must be extraordinary. She narrowed her eyes slightly, fiddling with a ruby on her chest, full of tenderness. Ha ha ha, wait until the blood introduction and SSS-level AI Lang successfully fuse and absorb its life essence. At that time, I will swallow the crystallization of life she has conceived, and the day is just around the corner. Revive the glory of the blood race and reproduce the light of millions of years ago, just around the corner. The mystery of the strength of the blood tribe must be the common indignation of people and gods when it is said. Since a long time ago, the method of stealing the other party's powers by biting the neck and sucking blood has fallen behind. Because if you do this, not only the absorption and conversion efficiency is extremely low, but there is also a probability of stealing failure. As a result, a genius blood clan powerhouse developed such a cruel secret method. First give the other party strong strength and top physique, and then let her seduce the proud son of heaven. When the other party's body is pregnant with life crystals, then control the other party, regardless of crying and begging for mercy, directly violently extract in front of her. In this way, a large part of the bloodline essence can be retained. Therefore, the blood tribe has never embarrassed women and will not hurt men. However, the blood clan generally raises only one king, that is, the count. If you do this kind of dehumanizing thing too much, you will gradually become a monster that is neither male nor female. When the king is strong enough, every once in a while, he will exchange ideas with his slaves, share the mysteries, and strengthen the strength of the entire blood clan. After hundreds of thousands of years of evolution, although there are not many people left, basically every blood clan is an SSS-level physique and possesses various abilities. Unfortunately, it is an acquired evolved SSS-level physique, and there is still a gap between it and the innate one. Grandpa, what ability do you say they have in the blood clan? Yuanjie replied with a calm face. What the blood clan is best at is the magic method of illusion, which allows the other party to enter the beautiful dream created by them in silence. Illusion? Yuanjie was stunned. Didn't he say that the Soul Royal system that was good at illusion had become extinct? The Soul Royal line really disappeared 100,000 years ago. And the reason for its disappearance is likely to have a lot to do with the blood clan. Yuanjie glanced at his grandson. He knew that the other party's eyes had powerful illusions. Speaking of which, her grandmother is a genius of the Soul Royal lineage, and there are several geniuses she has born, but none of them have inherited her supernatural ability. If Yuanjie flew to the upper realm, Grandma would be very pleased to see him. Yuanjie put aside these distractions, and he continued, in addition to possessing top-notch illusion abilities, the blood clan is also extremely physical, not only extremely fast, good at concealment, but also almost immune to spell damage. At the same time, they can strengthen themselves on the battlefield by drawing the blood of the dead, and the more people die, the stronger they are. The most unfortunate thing is that after so many years of evolution, each of them has dozens of powers at the same time, which is simply impossible to prevent. Yuanjie was shocked. Why did such a powerful blood clan have less than 100 people left? Yuanjie explained, because the blood tribe has a natural enemy race, that is, the werewolf race. The blood clan has a strong bloodline power and is the favorite food of the werewolf race. Moreover, the werewolf clan does not know spells at all, only knows how to charge with their heads, and at the same time has a limited IQ. Illusions are useless to them at all, and they are the natural nemesis of the blood clan. Werewolves like to live in groups, and whenever they see a blood clan, a pack of hungry wolves will pounce and bite. Are werewolves so fierce? I don't know if they are a threat to the Terrans. Yuanjie shook his head and said, you don't have to worry about this. The werewolf clan has no malice towards the Terrans. Moreover, cannibalism does not help their physical evolution in the slightest, and they don't bother to do it at all. Grandpa, is there any other strange race in this world? Yuanjie asked curiously. Yuanjie took out a pen and paper from the space ring, and wrote and drew to explain. Since the era of the fall of the Emperor, the world has been divided into three parts: the human race, the beast race, and the orc race. Among them, the Terran race is the strongest, followed by the beast race, and the orc race is a race born from the hybrid of the human race and the beast race. In fact, the werewolf and blood race are a kind of orc race. Among them, there are 5 major races of the beast race, which are the mountain Zuki, the water yin dragon, the air phoenix, the porky in the forest, and the valley fei. Yuanjie drew the appearance of the 5 ancient divine beasts one by one, and when the painting reached the mist, Yuanjie was stunned. Good guy, isn't this look exactly like the little white cat in the dream? After a long history, the 5 divine beasts that exist in the world are basically zero. Some of them have soared, while others have withered their bloodlines and ceased to be the glory of their ancestors. When Yuanjie talked about this, he was embarrassed. Why isn't the Yuan family like this? In the era of Yuanjie, he arbitrarily decided 10,000 races and became the leader of that era, and the Yuan family was the first of all races. What a scenery! Unfortunately, millions of years have passed, and now the bloodline of the Yuan family, only Yuanjie is left, and even the local giants cannot be ranked. Fortunately, Sun Zi Yuanjie competed and led the Sharingan dynasty to dominate the world and become the first of the Terrans. The Yuan family will never be buried by history. Grandpa, can you tell me about that Misty? Yuanjie's inquiry interrupted his cranky thoughts. Yuanjie glanced at him with a strange expression, and then said, how? Are you very interested in this spirit beast? Not really, I just don't know where I've seen it. Haha, what are you kidding? It disappeared 500,000 years ago. Since Sun Tzu wanted to hear it, not Yuanjie answered patiently. Misty, strictly speaking, it's not a monster, but a beast. Furry, they don't like to fight, and they are not aggressive to any clan. It is worth mentioning that there is only one sex in Phi, and that is female. After it's 1,000 years old, it is possible to reproduce asexually, and one Misty will have only one offspring in its lifetime. Although they are docile, it does not mean that they are weak. Misty has the ability to travel through time and space, and can even take people through time and space. It's just that after each shuttle, their memories will be cleared to zero. As the saying goes, cats have 9 lives, and they also have 9 opportunities to travel through time and space. The most heaven-defying ability of Fei Fei is to have absolute defense, and fierce beasts such as Zhu Wei and Qing Qi cannot cause any harm to them. At the same time, they can also control the 5 elements, transforming everything in the world into 10,000 colors according to their ideas. Speaking of this, Yuanji's face changed slightly. Chapter 297. Not only him, but Yuanjie also thought of someone. Grandpa, you said Yu Menghan, should it be? Yuanjie shook his head after thinking about it carefully. It shouldn't be. The old man has never heard of it. Misty can turn into human form, and they have always haunted in the image of a tanuki like a cat. When Yuanjie was a child, he once heard his grandfather talk about the illusion to Misty and saw the portrait. It is gray with a circular pattern on her body, 2 erect ears on her head, a soft beard on her neck, a thick mane on her back, and a fluffy white tail behind her. Seeing the painted portrait, Yuanjie breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that the little white cat is not a legendary Misty because she is white, not gray. As for the possibility of mutation? That's even more nonsense. You prefer to believe that it is just a cat, not one of the so-called 5 divine beasts. Most people think so. The 5 divine beasts have disappeared in the long river of history. How could they appear in front of them so coincidentally? As for Yu Menghan, her ability is indeed very strange, unseen and unheard of. But none of this matters. What matters is that Misty is extinct in this world. Wang Qing spread his bat wings and flew all the way to Jingcheng. At this time, she had already changed her white clothes and wore a black leather coat, outlining her perfect curves. Her beauty today is far better than before, and her gestures are all charming and heartwarming. Even Yusuking and Li Tiansha were inferior to her. Beauty, are you interested in going to Washington to play together? A prodigal son of a family disciple, with frivolity in his words, saw Wang Qing, who looked so beautiful, and couldn't walk for a while. Wang Qing's beautiful eyes, the Wang family emblem resting on the other party's chest, she sneered. Sure enough, what kind of family leader there is, what kind of clan people are birds below. Have you ever seen the men of the Yu family and the Huangfu family go out and molest women? Out of blood instinct, her gaze was filled with longing for blood. Jun Qiao misunderstood, thinking that she was that kind of person, and followed with a lick of her face. The beauty is so interested, there are quite a few people passing by here. Do you like it so exciting? Thinking of the beautiful picture that would happen later, Jun Qiao shook 3 times and pressed the following. Wang Qing turned around and smiled at him, igniting all the fire on his body. Pounce! Suddenly, a tail with triangular spikes grew from behind her, piercing the throat of the opponent. The black tail glowed red, and streams of red blood flowed in the black tail, and Wang Qing closed her eyes and enjoyed it. The blood tribe has evolved for so many generations, and has long abandoned the backward way of biting people with fangs to suck blood. Not long after, the man turned into a dry corpse, and she looked at it in disgust, and burned it down. She came back, not to take revenge on the Wang family, but to get her things back. In her room, there was an empty bottle, which was the recovery potion that Yuanjie gave her when the spiritual power was first tested, and after using it, she secretly hid a bottle as a souvenir. Wang Qing's heart moved, she spread her bat wings and flew straight towards the territory of the Jingcheng royal family. She didn't shy away from anyone, so she barged straight in. Old ancestor. Enemy attack. When Wang Badian heard the report from his subordinates, he quickly rushed out. I saw a domineering girl in black leather clothes, and no one walked into the Wang family step by step. He frowned. This man was so familiar, he seemed to have seen it somewhere. Seeing that the Wang family masters were indifferent, they ignored their warnings, so a person pinched his handprint and bombarded her. Boom! Explosions came and went, but the woman in black came out of the smoke unharmed. The crowd's eyes widened in fright. The Blood Clan instincts are immune to all spell damage at the same level. At this time, a Wang family powerhouse who cultivated physical arts attacked directly towards Wang Qing. Kick each other. Unexpectedly, it was blocked by a pair of bat wings, and the strong man of the Wang family was slightly stunned. Wang Qing said coldly, "You guys, don't force me to do it." At this time, her parents walked out of the hall. Her mother looked haggard and overly sad, and her father was impatient. When her mother saw her, she looked startled and cried, "Ying Ying, are you back?" Wang Qing's expression was full of struggle. but it quickly disappeared. Wang Badian looked back and saw that it was really her. I didn't expect to see it for a few days, and I actually became like this? With a beautiful appearance and a slim figure, if it were not for the blood relationship, he would almost be unable to hold it. This look, to seduce the Yuan Emperor, he will not believe it. What man under the sky will not be moved? Although I don't know what happened, Wang Qing actually turned into this appearance, but are these important? Unimportant. The result is good. It seems that my royal family is prosperous, and it is just around the corner, ha ha ha. Wang Badian thought of this, he had completely forgotten his previous face, and now he's amiable. Good granddaughter, just come back, the Wang family will always be your home. Wang Qing glanced at him in disgust and mocked, can you not be so disgusting? What did you say? When Wang Badian heard this, it was like his tail was clamped, and he screamed, do you treat your elders like this? Is there an elder like this? I don't want to make progress, and I want to rely on women to turn over all day. Wang Qing refuted him mercilessly. Rebel girl, how can you talk to your grandfather like that? Don't apologize soon? Wang Qing instantly drew an afterimage in the space and came to the head of the Wang family, that is, her biological father. You think you're doing a good job as a father? After dropping this sentence, Wang Qing turned to leave, walked to the door of her room, found that it was locked, and slammed the door into the air. However, she was stunned when she entered the door. The room was cluttered, as if she had been searched, and her personal belongings were randomly dropped on the floor. She found the medicine bottle in a group of debris. But the medicine bottle was shattered, like an insignificant thing, and was casually discarded. With red eyes, she walked over with heavy steps, trembling and picking up the broken medicine bottle. She roared, who is it? Who entered my room? Full anger spread from her body, and the Wang family looked at each other, and no one dared to go up and admit it. Your room? You are not the Wang family anymore, why can't you let people in? The speaker was an offering of the Wang family. He was not surnamed Wang, and in the early years, he asked his son to pursue Wang Qing, and he wanted to ascend to heaven in one step, but he touched a gray face, and he held a grudge. What do you say? Have the ability to say it again? A black figure came to the worshipper in the blink of an eye, and he was choked by one hand. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 298. Let him go, Wang Badian scolded with a gloomy face. Wang Qing turned her head to look at him and asked, so, are you trying to protect this outsider? The matter has come to this. Wang Badian knows in his heart that the other party has long torn his face with the Wang family. Wang Qing's eyes lit up, and after she used illusion to search for souls, she threw the offering out of the hall. She walked towards Wang Badian step by step coldly, kicking her high heels, making a crisp sound on the blue jade brick. It's you, who came into my room to destroy? Through the soul search just now, she knew that it was her good grandfather who entered her room and destroyed. So what? Wang Badian said disdainfully, what's wrong? Your room hides treasures that even grandpa can enter? Wang Qing shook her head, once upon a time, you were not like this. My former grandfather cared for her and respected her privacy. But I don't know when he changed and became very strange. Gloomy, vicious, unsympathetic, every day find excuses to scold her and beat her. The devil knows how she got over the past few years. You are no longer of any use to the Wang family, and your so-called room does not belong to you, it is the territory of the Wang family. Wang Badian has always believed that he is not sorry for Wang Qing. Isn't the family going all out to cultivate her just to get something in return? What is the use of raising a dog that can still guard the door and raise a proud daughter of heaven, but she is bored at home all day and does not act? In his eyes, Wang Qing can't seduce Emperor Yuan, that is, he has not done anything, or he is a waste. It's really blind to the excellent genes of the Wang family. Is it so hard to seduce a man? Men, food color also, you directly close your eyes and lie on the bed, the other party will naturally obediently accept you. Does anyone still talk about love these days? It's ridiculous. In Wang Badian's heart, the relationship between men and women is very pure, and it is nothing more than for that little thing. As long as we are happy with each other, it is a natural thing to be together. The problem is that Wang Qing is timid and afraid of things, and does not dare to open up. so he will achieve nothing. The task Wang Badian gave her was to seduce, not let her fall in love with the other party. As long as you can become the woman of the Yuan Emperor, no matter what method you use. So, he arranged for someone to broadcast live and instruct her on how to do things. How to use your strengths to please each other. It caused a lot of psychological trauma to the simple and young Wang Qiang. The first look is curiosity, the second look is interest, the third look is detail, the fourth look is numbness, and after the fifth and sixth time, it is nausea and nausea. Wang Badian has worked hard for the bright future of the Wang family. What disappointed him the most was that his granddaughter did not appreciate it, but entered a period of rebellion. Did you say enough? Wang Qiang was expressionless, and her black tail pierced Wang Badian's spiritual power pool, and she had put up with him for a long time. She didn't want to go on a killing spree. After all, this was where she grew up, and it was beautiful except for those vomit memories. Wang Badian looked at the other party flying away stunned, not knowing how to react. Wang Qiang flew to Xianjing and rented a house in Xianjing. Just now, she came out of the Wang family and found her space ring, which had a lot of private money, enough for her to live for hundreds of years. She didn't rush to find Yuanjie, because she sensed that there was an exceptionally powerful aura in the Byakugan Imperial Palace. Liv was walking to the pharmacy when she suddenly found Wang Qiang. She was very impressed by this beautiful woman who transferred to schools at that time. Not only is the person beautiful and sweet, but also very strong. At that time, she thought that only a proud daughter like Wang Qiang was worthy of Brother Ji and himself, but not worthy. So, she followed cautiously, looking for an opportunity to say hello. Wang Qiang spotted her, suddenly teleported behind her, and wrapped her black tail around the other party. Who are you? What are you tracking me for? Liv was entangled and breathless, and she said with difficulty, Wang, Miss Wang, it's me, my name is Liv, and I'm also in the 3rd middle school. Seeing that it was an old classmate, Wang Qiang loosened the binding. How did you recognize me? Her tone was still cold, but there was no killing intent. Wang Qiang naturally recognized her. When their Wang family was investigating Yuanjie, they found that there was a woman who had a crush on him since he was a child, and the woman's name was Liv. The same as the end of the world, why should they have known each other? Everyone secretly liked the man, and the common topic naturally increased. Soon, the two became good friends who talked about everything. Or Miss Wang, you can return the rent, live with me, take care of each other, and save some money. In the pharmacy, Liv said to her while collecting the medicinal herbs. Wang Qiang was silent for a while before spitting out a word, good. In this way, the two lived under the same roof for half a year. Liv had always lived in the old house, and she was now rich enough to buy a big house, but she was afraid to move. She was afraid that once she was gone, Brother Jay would not find her home. Through this time with Liv, Wang Qiang was influenced by Liv, and subtly she figured out that she liked him and did not necessarily possess him. She decided to use her powerful power to silently guard him in secret, guarding the Sharingan dynasty he had established. Of course, if you can be together, it is naturally the best. On this day, 2 delicate women carried bamboo baskets up a mountain to collect medicine. Not far from them, a brown stone surged up, and under the stone, a person crawled out. Old ancestor is right, the laws of the heavenly Dao have been restored. It seems that our ancient royal family has been hidden for a long time, and it is time to reappear in the sky. Ha 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 ha. The man broke the prohibition and prepared to retract to the hole that existed in a different space. At this moment, a woman in black blocked his way. The man felt that the other party's cultivation was very strong, and he couldn't see through it, and he suddenly became nervous. He handed over his hand. This beauty, I am a member of the royal family of the 12 guardian gods of the ancient world. Please make it convenient. In the future, the return of the ancient royal family will be greatly appreciated. The ancient royal family? Wang Qiang's expression became strange. She had naturally heard allusions to the 12 guardian spirits family, and when she was a child, her grandfather often told her about it. At that time, Wang Badian was extremely sure that the Wang family had been passed down for hundreds of thousands of years, and the ancestor was one of the 12 guardian gods. What the Yu family, the Huangfu family, it is not enough to mention. Is the family background hard with us? I never expected that the Wang family was not his own family, but someone else. The man saw that Wang Qiang's expression changed slightly, thinking that the other party was jealous of the name of their ancient royal family, and he couldn't help but feel a little proud. Sure enough, The Wang family is still the same Wang family, even if it has been hidden for many years, it is still terrifying. You just said that your Wang family is going to come back. Wang Qing narrowed her eyes and questioned him. The man straightened his waist, patted his chest and said, that's right, since 100,000 years ago, the laws of the heavenly Dao were damaged, and the leader of my royal family thought deeply and led the family to hide in the void. And now, the laws of the heavenly Dao are repaired, and the Wang family is born, and it will be invincible in the world. Unexpectedly, before he finished speaking, a black tail was inserted into his chest. You are. Wang Qing smiled slightly. Now the invincible is the Yuan emperor of the Sharingan dynasty. It should not be your ancient royal family. A blood arrow erupted, and the man's eyes widened in disbelief, and his whole body fell back stiffly. Wang Qing held the jade card on the other party's body in his hand and turned it into powder with great powers. You rat people, let's continue to seal in the void, never come up with it. Chapter 299. Wang Qing confirmed many times that the ban had been completely broken before she teleported back to Liv. Where did you just go? Liv asked curiously. Wang Qing replied to her vaguely, I saw that the scenery here was very beautiful, so I went around casually. You have to be careful in the future, there are many fierce beasts here. Wang Qing saw that the other party, a weak woman who did not even have cultivation, was worried about her safety for the first time, instead of caring about herself. She looked a little moved for a while. Flying all the way just now, she found that there were indeed many low-level beasts in the forest, and for her, it was easy to destroy. But what about Liv? She is a weak woman with no chicken power, and any beast can eat her. Thinking of Liv alone, he walked this rugged mountain road for more than 10 years. Wang Qing's eyes suddenly turned a little red, and her heart sympathized with Liv, and she also felt sorry for Liv. Also born as a human being, she spent the first half of her life in a rich family life with brocade clothes and jade food. Liv, who is her age, has to take on the burden of life early. Even so, she has worked so hard and still lives a tight life without a meal. Half a year ago, Wang Qing just came to Sharingan and met Liv on the first day. At first, she was at a loss for what to do about this destitute. She couldn't imagine that a person's dinner could fill her stomach with only 2 grains. In her inherent thinking, dinner has at least 10 dishes, half meat and half vegetarian. When she first went to Liv's house, it was hard to believe that a house could be so small. The narrow 20 square meters is not as big as the toilet in her room, and it is said that a family of 5 was once squeezed here. Is this called a house? Her pets live better than this. From a rich girl to a poor woman, Wang Qing is difficult to adapt. However, she is not the kind of squeamish person, and she quickly adapted to this kind of life and had a special experience. Xiaofu, I see that the business in your pharmacy is quite good. Why don't you ask a maid to help collect medicine? Wang Qing was puzzled. Liv wiped the sweat on his forehead and said, it's more cost-effective to ask someone to do it yourself, but if you spend a little money on a maid, you can not only relax, but also make your business bigger, and make much more money than you do now. Why not? Liv was silent for a while, and then said out loud, why make so much money? I live by myself anyway, enough is enough. Also, without a partner or children, with her current assets, she is enough to live a rich life. Monthly income of several hundred gold spirit coins, this is something she didn't dare to think about before. Wang Qing was touched by the spirit of contentment and happiness in her. However, although the world seems to be peaceful today, it is actually a dark tide. The appearance of the ancient royal family will definitely not be accidental, and more hidden families may be born one after another. Just now, through searching for souls, she probably learned about the top strength of the ancient royal family in the alien space. There are more than a dozen in the God King realm alone, and there is even the power of the flying immortal realm. And this, just one family. What about other families? How many families were dormant in the alien space? She didn't know. Once these hidden doors descended on this land again, Yuanjie's previous efforts were all in vain and became vain. The powerful hidden gate is absolutely impossible to live under people, and it is bound to pose a huge threat to the Sharingan dynasty. No, they must be stopped. Wang Qing's eyes were deep, and she clenched her fists. Brother Ji, I used to have the ability to help you when you were in deep danger, but I was unknown, and now, I regret it. If time can go back in time, I will stand firmly by your side. Fortunately, it's not too late, I still have a chance. Let me hide in the darkness and be your guardian. Thinking of this, Wang Qing said goodbye to Liv. Xiaofu, I have some things that I have to do, I'm afraid in the days to come. Liv grabbed her hand, looked up and smiled. It's okay, Sister Wang, you are a cultivator, and you will definitely not spend your time like us ordinary people. I understand you. I am very happy during my days with you. Since Wang Qing came, Liv smiled more every day, and this kind of happiness came from the heart. From childhood to adulthood, she did not have her peers around her, and only her grandmother pulled her to grow up. Now, she has Wang Qing, a confidant friend, and she feels very happy. She knew that there were no banquets in the world, and Wang Qing could not stay with her all the time. They were not a family after all. So, tonight, she made more than a dozen good dishes and sent Wang Qing away. At night, the two women lay on a bed, thoughtful. Sister, you're so big, Liv poked with his hand, then lowered his head and blushed. How is it long? She looked at her Xia Longbao, a little depressed. Brother Ji should like a girl as big as Sister Wang, right? Wang Qing didn't respond, and Liv thought she was asleep. Xiaofu, do you still like him? Late at night, Wang Qing murmured. Did you say Brother Ji? I like him, I've always liked him. I don't know why, the dream is all about him. How long have you liked him? Well, I want to think. Liv rolled over, looked at the ceiling and wrenched his fingers to count. It's been 5 months and 3 days. Wang Qing was stunned. How do you remember so clearly? Even she can't remember when she fell in love with him. Liv raised a smile. Hee, that day, my grandmother took me to Brother Ji's house. He talked to me a lot, although I kept listening. It was he who said, I was thinking at that time, if I can be with such a boy, the future life should not be depressing. Before leaving, I stepped unsteadily down the stairs, and when I saw that I was about to fall, it was he who hugged me. His arms were strong, his arms were warm, and the smell on his body was good. My heart was beating fast, and I thought, maybe that's what my heart feels. Brother Ji is the most humorous, hard-working, and simple-looking man I have ever met, and in my heart, I have long regarded him as the only man in my life. If I can marry him, it is my lifelong wish. Of course, now that I think about it, it's a bit of a fool's dream. If my partner wasn't him, I'd rather be single for the rest of my life. Anyway, there are quite a few single women in this world, not inferior to me. Liv's thoughts are simple, she just wants to find a partner who can talk to her, the kind that can talk to for the rest of her life. Her liking is very unpretentious, and even a little ridiculous. The first thing she fancies is Yuanjie's ability to speak well, humorous. And the days after following him will not be boring, and then she feels that he is very diligent in doing things, down to earth and very reliable, very good to his brothers and sisters, and has a good character. Finally, the appearance is value. She is different from Wang Qing, she is the most common view of mate choice among ordinary people. I just want to find a man who can be trusted for life, and I can live a good life after following him. It is enough, even if it is tired and poor. Do not expect him to have any great skills, do not require him to have a car and a house, do not need him to give $1 million bride price. She was originally a poor person, where did she get so many unrealistic ideas? I only hope the two people respect each other and run this small family together. Do not need to be rich, a short life, but happiness is very long. Chapter 300. 13 years ago, you were 12, right? How could there be that idea that he would not marry? Wang Qing felt a little incredible. When she was 12 years old, she was still practicing martial arts. Liv raised his head, his eyes were round, and he said, isn't it normal to be 12 years old? In the Sharingan dynasty, many girls married before the age of 14. So early, Wang Qing was stunned. 14 years old, not even in middle school, is he going to live with a man for the rest of his life? Children from poor families are already in charge. Liv smiled. Wang Qing was silent. She has lived in a privileged family since she was a child, and the marriage of the children of the family, except for men, women are very free, and they will not force you to marry, or specify who to marry. Coupled with the fact that she awakened a high-level physique at the age of 12, the family was even more cautious about her marriage. So, from childhood to adulthood, her family never instilled in her the idea that you must marry before you are a few years old. Because of her good looks and talent, she has a lot of licking dogs in school, and she enjoys the feeling of being embraced. Therefore, give her the illusion that as long as it is someone she likes, it must also be interesting to her. However, unexpectedly, he fell on Yuanjie. Sister Wang, it's your turn. I want to hear your story. Liv arched over her, so elastic that she almost couldn't breathe. Wang Qing's eyes showed a look of memory. I probably noticed him after his duel with the son of the Zhao family, right? At that time, I felt that this man not only looked like a jade tree, but also was so powerful. Liv echoed, Brother Ji is indeed a genius. You are such an excellent woman. It is normal to like people who are better than you. Wang Qing shook her head and said, No, I didn't like him at that time, but I was just a little interested in him. Oh, Liv was intrigued. How could I like someone so easily? Wang Qing smiled self-deprecatingly. It's a bit embarrassing to say, I like him. It comes from the idea of not being convinced. At that time, Brother Ji was very good to Li Tiansha. The two were childhood sweethearts, and their feelings were enviable. But I am not convinced. Why would he like a girl with an F-grade physique and an ordinary physique? But he didn't look at me, a proud girl. Then, we experienced 9 deaths together, and I witnessed with my own eyes that he, a person of the 8th order of the Heisei realm, defeated a powerhouse of the 5th order of the Great Late realm. This brilliant record is absolutely unprecedented, and there is no one to come. So, at that time, I thought that only such a powerful man could be worthy of me. The only people who can be around him are women as gifted as me, or more talented than me. Then what is Li Tiansha? She also has an F-grade physique? Speaking of this, Wang Qing's face was a little hideous. Because of this stubbornness of not admitting defeat, unconsciously, I found that other men are simply not comparable to him. In front of him, what family situation, what talent is all a piece of, it's not even worth carrying shoes for him. I am no longer a proud daughter of heaven, all pride has been defeated, just a poor person trapped by love, but I didn't dare to confess, because I had never experienced setbacks, and I was afraid that I would fail. The corners of Wang Qing's eyes burst with tears. What pride? In fact, from the moment I saw him, it was long gone. She could do anything for him, but she didn't dare to tell him what she wanted. What a ridiculous thing this is. Originally, I had many opportunities to be with him, but because of my pride and cowardice, I missed them one by one. Now beside him, there are 3 heavenly proud women with SSS-level physique. What do I count? In fact, I have more opportunities than them, but I don't cherish them. Liv helped her wipe her tears and said softly, Actually, Sister Wang, you still have a chance now, much more than me. Wang Qing shook his head and sighed. No. Now I am not a person, a ghost, and from the moment I stooped to the blood clan in order to become stronger, I was already unworthy of him. I'm already dirty, and I don't deserve him. Liv closed her mouth. She could feel the other person's remorse. If this opportunity to become stronger was presented in front of her, would she agree? Maybe not. After all, she knows that even if it is strong with the help of external forces, it is only the appearance, it is all false. She just had to like him silently. Wang Qing is probably influenced by Liv. She is no longer the stubborn she was at the beginning, no longer the woman who will do anything to be by his side. Now she only thinks about compensating for her remorse for not helping her when he fell to Pangyang. Since there is no chance to be together, then in the dark, make good use of your body and silently guard him. The birth of the hidden door is imminent, and he will face many unknown factors in the future. No matter what, she didn't want to see him in deep danger again, and if she wanted to hurt him, then step over her Wang Qing's corpse. So, she made a plan in mind. When she learned that the hidden door was powerful, her desire to improve her cultivation became more and more urgent. Wang Qing thought of the blood clan, and when she was planted with a blood seal, the relevant information of the blood tribe appeared in her mind. The dormancy of the blood tribe is different from the hidden door. They are sleeping, and the hidden door is still in a state of cultivation in a different space. The devil knows that 100,000 years have passed. How many terrifying powerhouses have appeared inside the hidden door? And the blood clan, now the highest cultivator, is Count Nikolai, the same realm as her. The abilities and realms of the blood clan are shared, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. What if a backbone boy appears? And Wang Qing is planning to do this anti-bone boy. When she kills Count Nicholas and then sacrifices the rest of the blood clan, she will definitely have extraordinary strength. At that time, you will be able to protect him. However, the plan is beautiful, and how easy is it to achieve it? She went this time, 9 deaths? What about 9 dead lives? Now she has nothing, except for Yuanjie. There is nothing to lose. Early the next morning, Wang Qing collected her mood and looked back at Liv, who was still asleep. At this moment, Liv, The corners of his mouth are lightly hooked. It seems that he dreamed of something happy, right? Perhaps in the dream, she got her wish to be with Brother G. As soon as she thought of the dream, Wang Qing's delicate body couldn't help but tremble. She experienced the pain of having and losing the next moment. And she no longer dared to dream. Wang Qing was at the dining table and left a money bag containing all her private money. Perhaps this is eternity. She closed the door lightly, but Liv on the bed slowly opened her eyes. Although Liv is humble, she is not stupid. She knows that Sister Wang is leaving, and she does not want her to experience parting again. She tightened her clothes and walked to the window to look out. It's raining. The fog is so heavy that the mountains in the distance cannot be seen, as if the future cannot be seen, is suffocating. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.